Everybody, welcome to Directly to You. It's the 152nd episode of Directly to You, where we talk about stuff. We're fanatixfour. I'm AJ of fanatixfour, joined by Parker, also of fanatixfour. And to support us talking about those things, you can go to youtube.com/fanatixfour or twitch.tv/fanatixfour and give them $4.99. Or if you're on Twitch specifically, you can give us Jeff Bezos' money for free. If you got an Amazon Prime account, you can link it to your Twitch account and get a Prime Gaming sub that you can give it to us. The only thing that you have to do, the only energy you need to exert is that you need to remember it needs to be manually done. That's literally it. But in exchange for that sub, you could get access to our supporters only Discord. You get loyalty badges. You get sub emotes on Discord. I mean, on Twitch. Well, you get them on Discord too. That's also true. True. If you become a YouTube member, you get them on YouTube, but they're not as useful. So I would suggest giving us Jeff Bezos' money specifically if you're able to do that. But you can join our Discord either way by clicking the link in the description, and you just talk to people. You can talk to Insane Duck. That's a new regular that I see a lot. You can talk to the mainstays, the Duncans. You can say yo and whatnot.
Do you mean Techno Duck, or is there also an Insane Duck as well as Techno
Insane Duck? Dude.
What? I went on the Discord like once this week, which is the first for me.
He might be Techno Duck. He might be Techno Duck in the Discord.
Oh,
but I know on Twitch he's Insane Duck.
Oh, look at that. Double personality,
Ducks can be multiple things.
They can.
They can.
They're omnivores, I'm pretty sure.
It's true. There's Howard the Duck. There's Daffy Duck.
Donald
Duck.
El Ducko.
There's Side Duck.
Darkwing Duck. Darkwing Duck was cool.
He was.
I don't remember much about him. I just remember he was cool.
Darkwing Duck was like in the middle tier of because when I didn't watch Darkwing Duck in like its original run or whatever. I don't even know if I was alive or not during that. But when it was on Toon Disney, that was like this thing that I would watch to watch Sonic. I was like, oh, this comes on before that. So it's like I liked it, and I was like, this is fine. I'd rather watch this than whatever other show they put on there sometimes.
We definitely didn't watch it in its original run because it was 1991. I would have been 1 year old.
Yeah, you weren't even able.
No, yeah, its first episode I was not born for. Probably by its like 7th episode I was born. So that's actually how we remember people and their ages is like how old were you when Darkwing Duck started? That's kind of
no, I literally remember your age because you're born the same year as my sister. That's literally
nice.
That's literally it.
Yeah, those are a lot of good reasons to join
Darkwing Duck, my sister.
Oh, birthday. Yeah.
I know, so I'm remembering. You can do all that stuff. It's great. But also, just supporting content from people that you may or may not like. If you hate us, somehow that does something. I don't know.
Indeed.
I don't know what you're into, dude. And I won't judge.
Yeah.
But anyway, you playing any video games?
I am playing games. Yeah. So this week I beat Age of Calamity.
Shoot. Oh yeah, and you spoiled it for me, dude.
I did. Spoiled it.
You said
spoiled it right up
features.
No, man, it was good. Like I felt like the pacing. I said this on Twitter, but I felt like the pacing was good. Like when I went to go play what seemed like it was going to be the last level or last chapter, episode, whatever. I was like, I feel like this is going to be the last level, which might mean that it's not, and it's a fake out. And really there's like 3 more, and it was the last level, but it was like it was meaty in a way that felt like just right and I was really happy with that.
Yeah, I wonder if anybody likes that. Like if anybody likes,
like the psych
games
out
are
or
like,
whatever.
Gotcha. There's 4 hours left.
Honestly, I've got to wonder because I mean, enough games do it that it seems like it. I think the only way I could
hate it. I hate it in almost everything.
The only way I can see it is if you're really
that like
invested.
Across media.
Yeah,
like
right.
I hate when movies do, because at that point, once I'm thinking like,
yep,
because there's things like in the beginning of freaking Endgame or whatever. It's like that's clearly not the end, right?
Yeah. Right.
But then there's like other times where it's like, if you're thinking like, yeah, it's probably the end, that means you're like just about ready to be done.
Yeah.
100%.
Like
so
Return to the King,
like,
great example.
gotcha.
And like the King Kong movie. I remember watching that, and I remember watching the movie called Australia. I don't know if anybody remembers that one. And
yo, it's Mega Man's favorite movie, dude.
is it? Yeah. So, but we actually did. So, some people know this. My mom grew up in Australia, and her parents were in town, who obviously also lived in Australia. And then she had some other Australian friends. So we went with like a crew of like 7 Australian, semi-Australian people to go see it. I'm not including myself in that. Other than I did go see it. And so the movie, it's 3 hours long. About an hour and a half in, there's a scene that feels like, yeah, this is pretty much the end. Like the bad guy didn't really get, he didn't get his comeuppance exactly. But everything else is kind of resolved. And then there's another hour and a half. And that was like, it was painful. Yeah, so that's how, like World of Light. I felt like that way with,
yes,
especially.
Oh
that
my
was
god,
bad.
World of Light. There's like a lot of games specifically, especially now, since a lot of people equate like
right,
the value of the game. There's so many games that I'm like, man, this game could have been 12 hours shorter and been fine. World of Light could have been 15 hours shorter and been fine.
Really could have. I feel like it's if you're really invested in the story and the story's done well, then I guess I could see some people enjoying it. But
if the story's done well, if the story's done well, then I don't see how you can get faked out by that.
I see what
unless
you
you're like completely unaware of how story structure works, right?
Yeah.
Because there's especially now, like post going to school for stuff like this, right? I can see the structure of a thing and be able to be like, it's probably going to end somewhere in this ballpark, and still be satisfied, right? It's very rare that like I'm like, all right, this is about to end, and then
especially if
like,
you know
that, and I'm like, I love it.
If you know the structure of the medium, I think that's the thing too, where like with a show, there's less of that because you're like, they could end on a cliffhanger for this season finale, or they could not. Like there's more balls in the air at that point. But with a game, you know that like they're going to finish at some point in the game. There's going to be some kind of resolution or whatever. And like sometimes the resolutions, I guess, could be bad, but more often than not, it's probably, solved. So yeah, all that to say, I was very glad that with Age of Calamity, it, resolved stuff and whatever. And I think there's more post-game stuff. There's things I hadn't completed, like side missions and stuff already. And then when you beat it, it unlocks some more like post-game little side missions and all that. So there's a lot more game to go back to and play if I want to, which I probably will at some points if I just like need something to, play for while I'm watching TV or something. Because the side missions don't have any cutscenes or anything like that. And those are the things that really like, I can't watch a cutscene and watch a show or something at the same time, but the side missions 100% I can. So, and okay, I have one grievance to air. So I mentioned a character that I really liked playing last time. I still like playing that character. There's a new character towards the end of the game whatever. I'm going to spoil this. Here it goes. I'm getting a call, but I'm going to hang it up. Sorry. See you later. All right. King Rome is a playable character at some point, which is fun.
Do you get to play as him as a boat?
Yes. No. Nice. So I hate King Rome's character just so much, but he's so fun to play. And that made me so mad that like I was like, I don't want to like him at all. And then I played as him and I was like, man, he's pretty good. And so that made me mad because like not only like he's just a jerk in the whole thing. Like he's always like, Zelda, you're foregoing your duties or whatever.
He was a jerk in the original game
every time. Like he's always he's a turd and he doesn't get there's not much redemption arc of his personality. Like he's just always that kind of
even in the actual video game.
Yeah. And so like I'm mad about that, but like, man, if he's not a good time to play. So I just like try to ignore that. But also I'm mad like voice actors are gonna voice act whatever, but the guy who does the voice acting for him or something, like it feels close, but just a little off. Like it's supposed to sound like an old, big British man or something. And he sounds just not quite old enough, just not quite big enough, and just not quite British enough. And it's just like, just a little irksome. No offense to whoever did that, except for it just wasn't as good as I wanted.
This man is the biggest Directly to You fan ever. You just hurt him to his core. This man is upset. He's like, I was hoping that Parker of all people would love my impression. And you just dashed his dreams.
Yeah. So yeah, that's Age of Calamity. It's good.
Anyway, you suck. Sorry.
It was like 35 hours for me to beat.
That's so long.
I could have done it. I definitely could have done it faster. That was I think Avery said no, somebody, I don't know. Somebody commented, and I'm forgetting who all of a sudden now, but said like, oh, that's actually not that bad. I might play that. So definitely you can play it faster than that or slower than that. Totally your call. I'm looking up who said it because now I don't like getting things wrong like that.
Oh, in the tweet.
Yeah, in the tweet.
I was like looking at it, boy. Who? Google. Who told me?
I don't know.
Rip, dude.
It's gone.
He deleted the tweet.
Apparently. Oh well. In any case, so I played that. What did you play?
I played Super Smash Brothers, but you're not gonna know but there's this dude, the Buzz. He's like number 10th in the world or whatever, and he does lessons on Smash.
Okay,
like
interesting,
like coaching. And I was like, I wonder what would happen with that. So it was like $116 for 2 hours, and I was like, that seems reasonable. So I paid that, and it actually helped more than I thought it would, because it made me realize that I get a huge buff by just being somewhat above the average skill level, because I'm able to cheese people by doing stuff that is not what I should be doing.
Timing out real quick. It was Pat Green. I can't believe I forgot it was Pat.
Gotcha.
Pat,
wow.
Go play the game.
That's
that's all. Thanks,
How do you
Pat.
forget
Right.
Pat?
I didn't forget Pat. I just forgot that it was Pat that said specifically that. Love you, Pat. Carrying on. Continue.
But yeah, so playing against him, it was like just like a lot of stuff that he will punish, and I'm like, what? Like Pikachu meme, like people never punish that.
Yeah.
And just like certain habits that I didn't know I had, because people never punished or able to punish a lot of the habits that I have. So give me something to work on to make me even more better than
interesting. Okay.
Enable me.
What, and how was the like online connection and stuff with him?
It was good. He's in New York, so it was
okay. Yeah,
it was good. And there, I mean, there's not really much, because it was like I'm at the point where like me breaking down what he said was my problem would be super boring to you specifically.
Right. Yeah.
So like there's no real reason to do that. But I changed my controls, and my controls like are very strange, but I think that they're gonna help me with the problem that I have. Like, interesting. My controls are like wild. You know how like the triggers, they both do the same thing, you know, like so you have both Z buttons, they both do shield, and both R buttons, they both do R. I always had it so that one of my other triggers did something else, because there's no real reason to have two shield buttons, because I never pressed that other one. I always had it as special or jump, depending on what character I had. Right. But now I have the triggers mapped so that I have access to all the like main options. Like I have a jump button on a trigger. I have an attack button on a trigger. I have grab on a trigger, and I have shield on a trigger. And then something similar with my face buttons, where I put grab on the other jump button. So like no matter where my hands are, depending on what I'm doing, I don't have to reconfigure my hands to do any specific thing to get out of a situation.
I'm just imagining you with your hands like all the way on the back of the control, like, oh no, I can't read. I don't know. It's very happens. I mean, this game's
it's like finger placement. Yeah. It's finger placement entirely, because there's certain tech that you had to do, like you have it's a dexterity thing, and it's a lot easier to do it if I don't have to move my hands for anything at any point. So I'm getting used to that, because now it's a muscle memory thing of like, I'm gonna press the R button. It's like, oh crap, That's the wrong thing. Well, actually, the R button I changed back to B. Oh, did I? Yeah, I changed the R button back, and then I flipped it around so that my R button was closer to what it usually is. Or whatever. I don't know. My controls are weird, and I'm getting used to it. But once I do, I'll be stronger than you've ever seen.
So true. Over 9,000.
Also, I bought Marvel's Avengers yesterday.
Oh yeah, I saw you did that on Xbox, right?
Yes, on Xbox because F them. You know, I was
True.
about to actually say the word, but
but we don't have to. We don't want to have to edit.
Yeah, exactly. So my thing is, like I said, I mean, I already made clear my stance on that. But I might still play it on PlayStation if it's free. You know, like if by the time Black Panther actually comes out, I might download it on PlayStation.
Are you gonna wait to start playing it until Black Panther comes out? Or
I don't know if there's gonna be any nonsense where it's like you got to clear the campaign. So I'm trying to clear the campaign before Black Panther actually comes out.
What do you think so far?
It's fine. You know, like I can see it being like the type of game where it's like, I like Marvel stuff. I like the Avengers. If I'm playing this with friends, that'd be even more fun. You know, it's not really something I'm like, yo, I'm so engrossed in this campaign. It's great gameplay. It's like, it's serviceable. And it will be even more fun when I'm playing it with people I want to play with and playing as the character that I want to play as. So should be cool.
That kind of thing. I wonder too, with like games as a service or whatever, there's a number of them I feel like that just don't quite hit it out of the park right at the beginning, but then kind of make it by the end and like end up being like Sea of Thieves. I feel like is one that like it was. I mean, it was very popular at the beginning when people were trying it out because it was like one of the first things on Game Pass and all that. But
it was a rare game and rare.
Yeah, exactly. And like so that's a big deal. But like it didn't pan out super well. But then now it's like doing great and like a bunch of other games. I don't know.
And like Rainbow Six Siege.
Yeah, right. Some other games like that, or like even what's No Man's Sky, like that kind of thing, where that's like the whole, you know. But then there's other ones like Anthem where that just straight up like, doesn't happen. Nope. So like that, you know, as a developer or a publisher or whatever, like I wonder, you know, how do you plan for? I guess the idea is like if you're a year in and you're like we've used up most of our great ideas. Let's just call it.
But with Anthem, I can understand that. But it's like they are actively doing everything in their power to fail. Marvel's Avengers fails because it is literally one of the biggest media properties right now. How do you actually mess that up? You know, like I mean, they're doing stuff to actually mess it up. There's a very clear path for them to like make it a lot more successful than it is that they're just not going to do. Like it's not cross-platform play, which is stupid. But like, I bet that has something to do with Sony and something to do with the Spider-Man exclusivity.
100%.
But you know, you didn't hear it from me.
Which is funny because oh man, that's especially weird. Because Spider-Man in the MCU is essentially cross-platform and is like what's, you know, that's doing great for them. So like the fact that they didn't.
But Sony almost pulled that rug from under everybody too.
Oh, that's true.
If we recall.
Yeah, man.
But you know, greatest place to play, the gaming darling. Something.
Man, what a time,
company, dude.
I need to download more games on Game Pass. Like, there's so much that we didn't talk about it last week because I guess not Nintendo news. So, but like Bethesda and all that stuff. Like, I think I'm going to download The Sims to try to get Ashley into that because I feel
downloaded
like
The Sims.
I don't know. I just feel like she'd enjoy The Sims. You know, that was
she'd probably enjoy The Sims. She likes Animal Crossing.
Yeah, exactly. So it feels like there's definitely some overlap there. So I'm gonna do that. But yeah, then I don't know. There's some other Bethesda games that like it would probably be cool to play, but I've got other games that I'm playing. For example,
Bravely
Default 2. Man, it is fun. I mean, basically, here's my pitch to anybody. If you like turn-based JRPGs, you'll like Bravely Default 2. Seems like to me, at least. It like I don't know, it just feels like a very well-refined version of a very classic thing, like in the same way that like Octopath was fun and whatever. Like it's not super breaking the mold, but like grinding is more fun in this than it is in some other games because you can kind of So okay, the mechanic for anybody who doesn't know why it's called Bravely Default is in battle you can brave or default your turns, in which case you can borrow against, like, it's me and my party against, or it's my party against like some goblins or something like that. If I'm
You
like,
go
yeah,
into
I could
debt, you default on your own.
exactly, yeah. So braving is you borrow against your upcoming moves, and you're like, I'm gonna go ahead and just do like 1, 2, 3, or 4 moves right now, but then the next 4 turns I'm not going to get to do anything. But if you're like, yeah, I could take these guys out with 4 turns worth of attacks, then you can just do it all at once and then not have to worry about like sitting there grinding, taking some damage, blah blah blah, that kind of thing, because you're like, I can just kill them all right now anyway. And that's fun. And then like it does mean that I have not as much strategy built up already when I do harder fights, so I need to like kind of work on that. Instead, I'm just
get
going
some
around and
triangles,
doing.
Dude. You gotta get some triangles to strategize.
I'm Duncan. Please never stop retweeting the project macaroni enhancement or whatever, like all those ones. Oh, it's so good. Yeah. Project Triangle Strategy. There it is. But something that is fun is like, so as enemies in the overall, oh yeah, that's also great, is that it's not random encounters, it's enemies that are in the overworld that you like run into, and then a battle starts. And if they're under leveled compared to you, then they'll run away from you a little bit. And if they're over leveled compared to you, then they'll try to attack you. And you can like gain the upper hand by hitting them first. But something that's neat is like if there's a bunch of them that are all running away from you, you can like corner them in one spot, and you like just slash in the overworld where you hit multiple at the same time. Then you'll go in a back-to-back battle with all of those enemies that you hit. So like earlier, there were like 4 enemies running away from me because I was so strong. And they all got in a corner. I hit all of them. And so I just had like a battle with 4 goblins, and then the next one with like an orc and 2 wolves and whatever. Like, to where I actually did have to start thinking strategically, even though there were fewer of them. It was like, I mean, even though they were under leveled compared to me, there was a lot more of them now. So I had to like plan out my moves a little bit better and stuff. And then you can level up more things from that. So like, yeah, it feels like a really well designed game. And I'm enjoying it a lot. I'm probably 6 hours into it or so, and like haven't gotten all that far at all, just because I'm just putzing around, having like exploring every nook and cranny I can, because that's how I do these things.
That's Animal Crossing. Animal Crossing. But I mean, that would be a good transition to Animal Crossing. But I do want to mention, I forgot what context this was in. I think it was during the Smash Bros. Stream that me and Lee did. But we're going to start doing like dumb stuff more often, where like we ranked the worst, or that was the last thing. The first thing that we did was we decided which Smash Brothers characters are weeps.
Okay.
So we were like, all the Fire Emblem characters by default are weep crap, like that sort of thing. And at some point it was like this I don't remember if it was this stream, but somebody was talking about the whole Bravely Default thing, like if you like RPGs. That made me think of this. But at some point in one of these streams, because it all bleeds together for me, content, talking to people that I make content with, it's all the same thing in my brain. They're talking about like how Pokemon is like an on-ramp for JRPGs. And I don't think that's true. Like, I think it can be. I think like if you like, if you're like predisposed to like that sort of thing, sure. But I don't think that like it's definitely going to do that. Like, I think it's more likely that people are going to play it because it's Pokemon than it is for people to play it and be like, you know what, I love JRPGs now.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. I think I would agree with your take that it's not the same thing for everyone, in the same way that there's like a lot of different facets to it or whatever. For some people, like for me, it was an on-ramp to JRPGs. But for somebody else, it's like, I guess I'm doing this battling or whatever, but like, look at all these Pokemon I collected. I love collecting things. And that's like, because like not a JRPG thing,
and it's not even like a thing that like it's not just like exclusive to me or anything. Like I know multiple people that will just play Pokemon because it's Pokemon, but do not care about JRPGs at all. And that transcends to other genres too. There's people that play Mystery Dungeon because it's Pokemon, Pokken because it's Pokemon, blah blah blah. You know, like, and Pokemon Company even knows that they have that tool where it's like, you might not care about MOBAs, but it's Pokemon, so play the Pokemon one. You know, like that sort of thing.
Very
right?
True.
But again, like that's not me saying that doesn't happen, because I know it does. But I think that's less. It's like the whole thing. It's like the whole thing about. Well, it's a spoiler. Never mind. I'm not going to say that. But it's like if you're predisposed to like a thing and then you're introduced to that thing and you like that thing, that's entirely different from Pokemon being like this thing that's like, oh, it's going to make you love JRPGs because you're going to find like common ground. And it's like, no, the common ground that I like in the Pokemon JRPGs is everything but the JRPG aspects of the game. And in fact, those are the things that I actively complain about is the JRPG aspects of the game.
I mean, that's like, to me, I can imagine once I play Metroid Prime, any of the Metroid Primes for the first time, for sure. I mean, maybe it could be an on-ramp to first-person shooters. More likely, it's that this is a game that I'll enjoy basically every other aspect, and like put up with the fact that it's also a shooter, because like I don't really care about shooters. Like in even in like contexts that I enjoy, for example, like I like watching futuristic and sci-fi movies and stuff. I don't really care about futuristic sci-fi kinds of games. I prefer like fantasy kind of stuff. So like if it was a first person thing with bows and arrows and all that, like still don't care really, even though it's bows and arrows. What a time, you know, like, yeah, I think definitely there's some games where like there's, part of it is to the detriment of other things in some regards, but also it's just like kind of, that's just the way it is. So I agree.
I mean, something similar to that is Animal Crossing. That's very similar thing.
So true.
Where, like, some people like freaking Life Sims, and like they play those, and some people liked Animal Crossing, and that's literally it. you know, it was like that whole thing before the game came out, and I was talking about that, where it's like, I don't really like Life Sims. I'm like, yeah, but this is different though. you know, like,
And I wonder what it is about. Is it in your mind, is it the progression aspect of it? Like that's, to me, that's the thing.
I don't know what it is. I think that there's, similar to Pokemon, there's a lot of things that can grab onto you and you latch onto specifically within Animal Crossing. It doesn't necessarily have to be the genre. It might be like, I think Bob, the reason why he liked Animal Crossing is because of the character design, similar to how he feels about Pokemon. He's like, man, I just want to be friends with like cute animals. Like, that's what I think where Bob was, and I think a lot of people are also like that. And for some people, it is like the progression aspect of it, where it's like Sims doesn't really have that. It has that in the same way that like Life has that, where it's like I have more money, I can afford more things, right? But it's not like gamified in the Sims. Well, I mean, it is in the sense where it's like you leveled up, and that's literally it. It's like the verbiage is gamified.
And speaking of, I mean, obviously, it's the 1 year anniversary of Animal Crossing. The day this video comes out, it came out and saved all of our minds a year ago today. But yeah, so that we're going to talk about some things related to that. I'm just framing it, but I'm coming back to actually exactly what we were just talking about.
And also thank me, everybody that before the game came out was like, oh, I'm not going to like Animal Crossing. Because look at where you are now, or were then, if you're not playing anymore. I still deserve it.
One thing that
people always give me crap, man. I just try to help. I'm just like, hey, you're probably like this. And people are like, nah, you don't know what you're talking about. After 6 times of me freaking knowing what I'm talking about beforehand, people make me sick. No, I'm joking.
No, it's the vaccine that's going to make you sick. we're hopefully. So this is unrelated. We got on a couple.
I mean, is it truly?
I mean, what even is? Actually, no, it's pretty related because the Animal Crossing vaccine.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. Exactly.
So, we just had a couple of friends that got on a waste list around town. So like there's Walmarts that have shots that, it's for people in particular order and stuff. But if they open vials and there's like 6 shots left, that it's either going to go to waste or somebody gets it, then like they have a wait list that they can call. And then like those people will come in. So I called to be on a couple of those, but I've heard that like all of my friends, a lot of my friends that have gotten the vaccine have felt like garbage for like a day afterwards. So I'm very much looking forward to that.
Yeah. That's like, I mean, I don't know. I'm going to get it as soon as I figure out how to get it.
Yeah, right.
but that is the part of it that I'm dreading. And not even because I don't want to feel like crap, but it's like, what will I do content wise? I can't stream and feel like crap, like,
yeah. There's a part of me that like, if I know that I'm going to be fine afterwards, I almost don't mind feeling like crap, because if I can, it's like, oh, I get to be off work. I get to just lay in bed, maybe play a game and just sleep for a while. Like, that's so sad.
But that's different. That is entirely different. When it's like, when your whole job is like, clock it out. It doesn't really matter.
Right,
like,
exactly.
Yeah, sick time or whatever. But it's like, I can't. So, like, I mean, if I'm going to, if I need to, but it still is like, rip.
Man. So yeah, Animal Crossing came out, man, and we pulled up 2 quizzes that we're gonna take, and they're gonna be the best quizzes you've ever done.
The best quiz you never
gotta
saw
be,
quiz ever.
And so I'm gonna share my screen over here, and we're gonna take these quizzes. We'll just do them each one at a time, I guess. One, you do one, and then I do it, or do we answer it on behalf of each other? Who even knows?
I don't know. You want to do one each, or do you want to do? I don't know how that would even work.
I don't even know. We're gonna find out. Here goes. This one's called "Who Could Be Your Hobby Twin?"
Oh boy!
Wow, what a time! Everybody listening at home, do it for yourself as well. I mean, actually, no, because you won't get the answer. Whatever. Here we go. Which item do you like to use the most? Bug nets, flower crowns, fishing poles, or wands?
The wand.
All right.
Because I like memeing with the wand. I like doing it.
Man, I don't use the wand barely at all, to be honest. I
use the wand because I like make outfits, and then I make the name of the outfit, and that's the content,
True. Where would you want to set up your campsite? In a forest with lots of trees, a spot with a view of the night sky, near the plaza, or near a waterfall by the river?
Near a waterfall by the river.
Not true. You're telling lies, but I'll go with it anyway.
Am I lying?
I don't know. I'm just memeing for the content.
Shaking my head.
Which item would you want to use to decorate your house? A wardrobe, a terrarium, a star clock, or a fish tank? They don't have the orange end table on here, so I'm mad. Did you say what is a star clock, or you chose a star clock?
What's a star clock?
I think it looks like a star, but it's got a clock.
Ooh, I thought it was like, like freaking galaxy lights or whatever.
Oh yeah, that would be
I thought it was like that, but like a clock, like like shown the time on the wall. I'm like, boo.
Nope, that'd be way better.
Star clock is the worst one, but also the callback of the orange end table.
So what do you think? Wardrobe, fish tank? Yeah, man. Which challenge sounds like the most fun? Spotting the most shooting stars, catching the biggest fish, winning a costume contest, or catching the most bugs?
I mean, I guess catching the biggest fish, because gameplay wise, I think that's the most gamey thing of all of them.
True.
Probably that.
And also, like, with the bugs, you can see what they are, and so there's an extra like mystery element with the biggest fish. That's kind of fun. Where it's like, like,
what is this going to be?
Is this going to be a sea bass, or is it a friggin' oar fish?
Is this going to be a sea bass, or a sea bass, or a sea bass, or a shark?
At least a C+. What kind of outfit would you wear on the weekend? Sporty and outdoorsy, edgy and cool, classy and cute, or trendy and stylish?
Yo, freaking edgy and cool, dude.
Yeah,
What?
man. Here we go. Your hobby would be fishing, just like CJ. Hey, AJ and CJ, that's like
It's
pretty
true.
much the same. So
It's true.
they can't be lying.
Nice.
There it is.
Nice.
You are CJ. All right, and then I guess I'll take the other quiz. Is the idea?
Yeah.
Okay. So this one is, what's your Animal Crossing style? Something like this, like a hoodie. Yeah, we'll find out though. How do you like to style your hair? Short as possible, tied back, colorful and wavy, or stylish bangs?
I mean, the closest thing is probably tied back.
I mean, at this point, yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
So here we go. Like, yep. What would you like to do?
Because like you don't do any of that other stuff.
I know, yeah, especially the colorful and wavy. Like, I mean, if my hair's down, it's like a tiny bit wavy, but definitely not colorful. I don't have loud Pete and Bessie hair.
It's true. It's true. You
Lucky
don't.
son of a gun.
I mean, is he lucky? Just
I know you
buy
do
hair
yourself.
dye, dude. Buy hair dye.
But it's more fun to pretend that I can't.
Gotcha.
What would you like to do in your free time? Go shopping, nap on the beach, chase butterflies, or listen to music in my room?
Oh well, this one.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Obviously, go shopping. No, listen to music in my
As
room,
you
y'all.
hover over the one that's actually the obvious one.
Yeah. How would you like to spend the weekend? Relaxing at the aquarium, fishing with friends, posing for photos, or having a picnic? Oh, is this in Animal Crossing or in real life?
I guess in Animal Crossing.
Okay.
Would you specifically, unless you specifically want to do any of these things like to the letter?
Not
Like,
really.
Like, you're gonna actually go fishing with your friends?
Just gonna go post for photos for a couple hours.
Exactly.
Spend the weekend. It's the weekend. It's not just, it's the whole 2 whole days of just posing for photos. I mean, that's some people.
I mean,
though,
if you're
like,
an Instagram model, dude,
I was gonna say, like, that's the thing.
for the content.
I would say fishing with friends. Over the other ones. The aquarium was like, it's super cool a couple of times, and then you're like, all right, I get the gist. Which still, like, that's, I mean, worth it, honestly. But
well, I think the aquarium and it's very dependent on how much, like, how in the people that you're with are.
100%.
But like, it can be cool as like a look at my aquarium, you know, but not like going through your own aquarium for any reason ever.
Yeah, right. I mean, it is fun to see like how they put the different species together and stuff like that. So like, if you're somebody who's going to fill out your Critterpedia, then the aquarium's neat, and it's like a relaxing spot.
I wish that it was like emergent. I wish it like like sometimes a shark just eats the freaking like turtle. That would make me. I would always be in the aquarium
tycoon at that point, and like you have to charge admission, and you know, like, yeah, that's, man. Like tycoon games like that are always fun, where you can make shenanigans happen. And I remember, a friend of mine telling me he was playing.
I know
Tycoon.
So many kids that just straight up always made like, roller coasters that killed people.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, that was one of my favorites. Was one of these ones that went. The one that like went up and then kind of fell and went backwards, and I would just do that one and turn it up from like 40 miles an hour, which makes it actually do the loop and come back down, to 70 miles an hour, 100 miles an hour, and like and everybody go flying. I was like, man, I'm the best at roller coasters.
I'm the best at roller coasters.
Fishing with friends. All right, how would you describe yourself? Trendy, sporty, laid back, or casual? Oh man.
Wait, what is the difference between the last two? What?
I feel like laid back and casual, very much the same thing. Also though, casual feels like laid back almost requires some energy, and casual to me requires none energy. And that's how I feel right now, is just take it just whatever's happening is happening. And so I'm going to say casual. Whereas laid back does feel a little bit like I'm choosing to not be bothered by the world, which is like, okay, that's, it's a little bit of energy. Which colors do you like the most? Bright, warm colors, natural neutrals, mellow, cool colors, or coordinated colors?
What does coordinated colors mean? What do they mean?
So true. I don't even know. I'm going to say mellow cool colors because, I mean, hopefully all of these are coordinated some. I don't know. Which clothing item or accessory would you want to wear? A pair of sunglasses, a hoodie, a sports jersey, or a flower crown? Very hoodie.
Crown,
Would wear a flower crown. And last question, which shoes would you want to wear? Casual slip-ons, fancy footwear, sneakers, or sandals? This is a little bit tricky and not tricky for me because for me, my casual slip-ons, sneakers, and sandals are, they all are the same. Well, not quite the same, but my sneakers, I tie them loose enough that I can slip any of them on and don't have to tie my
But
legs.
how are they like sandals? I don't understand.
They're not, but sandals are also slip-ons. You know what I mean?
I
Like,
hate sandals, dude. I hate them.
I do, man. I'm a flip-flop
can't.
fan in the summer, like
I
good
can't
ones,
do
like
it.
Vans flip-flops or like
can't
Rainbow
do
or
it.
something.
I hate flip flops because the sound that they make.
I could, I'll give you that. Yeah, you know what? Since we're coming up to spring, I'm gonna have to mow tomorrow for the first time. I'm gonna say sandals. Get in the season.
Cool and casual.
This quiz. Your style is cool and casual. Yep, I'm fully aware. But thanks. I mean, I don't know about the cool part. I'll definitely take the casual part. And that's our 2 quizzes. So we did it. Yep.
We did it, everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Are you cool and casual? Let us know in the comments down below.
That's true. If you take the quizzes, which you can, I'll put them in the description. Let us know what you got. You know,
what's the opposite of that? Hot. What's the opposite of casual? Hot and
fancy stressed.
Oh, fancy.
Not a phrase at all, but feels like the two, you know, opposite ends on both sides. But yeah, Animal Crossing. Any last thoughts on Animal Crossing? And then it's been out for 1 year.
Man, Animal's been crossing for a whole year, dude.
I will repeat my.
I wonder if their feet hurt.
Because it's been a year since I've mentioned this, so whatever. I still remember in 7th grade, a friend of mine being like, "Man, I love playing Animal Crossing," and I thought he was talking about a game like Frogger. And like, man, what if this whole time Animal Crossing just was about?
What if it was? What if it was?
Just crossing a street and that's the whole thing, you know?
What if you like still thought that? What if like when I was talking about like, oh no, they like usually sell like over 10 million units like routinely. Like, on the regular.
How is the name
like,
brand Frogger not doing well?
Yeah, like how is Frogger not more active? Like Frogger,
come on, man.
Frogger has legacy,
OG.
dude. Yeah, like my mom played Frogger, dude.
Yep, and my mom played Smash at Evo, but maybe not anymore.
Yo,
you know,
where did she place, dude?
All the way. She
all the way. She won,
placed,
dude.
Not all the way at the top, but it was all the way at one of the ends.
She was like top 64, top 32.
Yeah, top Nintendo 64, all day long. Yeah, so so PlayStation acquired Evo or whatever.
It's dumb.
I hate
everything about this.
You know, which for Nintendo purposes just means like, is Smash still going to be there?
It's very dumb, and I hate it. I hate it so much.
So tell me your thoughts. I mean, honestly, as far as I'm aware, that's about all the news that I know of with it is PlayStation bought it, therefore maybe no more Smash.
They bought it is because like obviously esports is like a big thing. Like and like a lot of the games at Evo, if they are not associated with PlayStation, like they're most of the games there are like multiplats and they play them on PlayStation. This is them like securing that brand identity even further, because like who knows what happens with like, because the only reason why it's all PlayStation right now is because PlayStation is the place for most people to play these video games, right? Because it's like the most powerful like console that's like accessible to the you know the audience that plays fighting games, especially like the Japanese ones, because who's going to play it on Xbox? You know what I mean?
I mean, even in Europe, like Xbox is still also not
less
doing great, you know, like
I mean it does fine. It just compared to PlayStation, Xbox in Europe is like Nintendo in Europe, where it's like it sells fine. Like it
honestly, Nintendo in Europe is like
Xbox
killing it these days.
Almost doesn't exist
right
in in Japan, like almost at all. Like they ship 200,000 units at the beginning of Xbox's life, and they're like, all right, go forth, live your life, and that's it. You know, like they're not out here selling 100,000 units every week like a Switch would. You know, like so, or even PlayStation at this point. But that, I mean, that's that's a different topic altogether. Anyway,
so I just looked it up for just some context. Microsoft sold more than 2 million of its Xbox One gaming consoles in Europe from 2015 to 2017. In 2018, dipped below the 2 million line. In 2020, only 670,000 units of the Xbox One were sold across all of Europe, which is like, I mean, that's way better than Japan for sure. By a huge margin.
Even then, that's like decent because like sales, like there'll be stuff like the Switch or whatever, right? Where it's like the Switch hit 2 million units sold in France, and that sounds like nothing. But in France, it's like, oh shoot,
right, exactly.
Like, freaking 20% of the country or something like that. Like, or like the video game playing base of the country.
So I don't know. I mean, at this point, I
hate everything about this. I hate everything.
Smash is not going to be at Evo anymore.
I mean, it might. The PlayStation says that they're open to any platform being a part of it and blah blah blah. But I think that that's not entirely true. And also, I think that like Nintendo wouldn't want to. Want to do it.
Especially if that's
because they're already kind of like, I don't know about this esports thing unless we're like directly doing it, right? Because esports, even as they exist for like corporations that do support Evo, they are advertising the game for them, and they know that, and Nintendo knows that. But at Evo, they're advertising the game in the way that they don't really want it to be advertised.
Right.
Like they want Smash Brothers to be like, and it's not the same thing as like people are like the way it's intended to be played. But no, they want to like showcase like this is what the game can be in all of its facets, right? So they want to have it like, okay, we want to have it semi-competitive, but also for the people that are more casual and they want to play, we're going to showcase that too. So they do like in their own tournaments, they do like items set to low or whatever, and then they limit which ones can pop up and like that sort of thing. So it's like this happy medium. Evo's not going to do that. Right. Evo's like everything's off, dude. You know, like competitive rule set. So they already are hesitant to like take part in Evo, and even in Japan, where it's like this huge thing. Like they had like 3,000 entrants or something like that. In like just in Japan. This isn't like a whole bunch of people from other countries flying in, like actual like, you know, like US based Evo is like Japanese players also play in the US based Evo, but Evo Japan is pretty much exclusively Japanese players, and they still had 3,000 entrants in that tournament. Guess what their prize was?
Man, for Smash, it was like a gold controller or something,
and that's it. They didn't get any prize money, and prize money it already sucks at Evo. Like it's literally the biggest fighting game tournament in the world, and like even in the games that people are like, oh man, the developers really support this, blah 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 blah. Like the winner won like $50,000 or something like that. Look at Fortnite, where like the 50th place winner won $200,000 or something. Wow, like that. Like I don't know, man. It's not looking great for Smash Brothers, whether Sony is like, maybe or not. And the other thing that I'm seeing a lot of people say, which again, I think is like your bias is showing, is people being like, oh, at least Microsoft didn't buy it. I think Microsoft would have been the best case scenario for this, the absolute best case scenario. First of all, they have more money. Second of all, they are significantly more pro-consumer than any of the other gaming companies on the planet. And that, I'm not even just talking about console manufacturers. They are significantly more pro-consumer than any other video game company. There's no competition there. Second of all, they already own Smash GG, so there's synergy there.
Wait, what's Smash
GG is like a tournament. It's like how you hold it does like brackets and like all that sort of stuff.
Interesting. Okay.
They bought
and
that
Microsoft owns that?
Yeah, they own it. They bought it a couple months ago.
Gotcha.
or maybe not even, it was probably like 2 months ago, maybe
Mm-hmm.
4 max. Which a couple months ago.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, it would make sense in that regard, and I think that they actually have shown that they are like platform agnostic. Like they want
Mm-hmm.
you to like play on Game
Right.
Pass or whatever, but that
Yeah.
doesn't really have anything to do with this. This is like user
Mm-hmm.
base and like goodwill sort of situation more than it is like, all right, how are we going to make money if they were to do it anyway? Like I think for
Mm-hmm.
PlayStation, it's like, all right, how do we convert the most people to playing on PlayStation as possible?
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, yeah, I don't like it.
Yep. I mean, Xbox is so pro-consumer that they managed to get a Switch exclusive game. I'm skipping an article and coming back to it on the game on Game Pass. You know, it's not obviously exclusive. Octopath Traveler. There you go. That's how I'm transitioning.
Yes,
is on Game Pass now, which is
it is.
just fun. You know, whatever. It's so this is something. Unless you had more things to say about Evo.
No, I'm done. I
Okay,
I hate everything about it. I don't like it.
Because I don't have anything additional to say, and that was too good of a transition to try to mess up. But yeah, Octopath Traveler is coming on Game Pass. Probably, I guess, eventually it'll come to PlayStation as well. It seems like, and it's just coming everywhere. Because like it came to PC last year, right? And then
yeah.
So it's obviously had it was a time exclusive, and like even before it came to PC, they announced the sequel on iOS, so like it wasn't crazy exclusive as an IP or anything like that, but just neat or interesting that like it seems like there's a number of it's not that weird. It's just interesting.
I mean, there's some stuff that's weird about it. It's weird because like it wasn't even announced as like a video game that was coming to the platform first, right? Like they didn't say like Octopath Traveler is coming to Xbox. I mean, and to be fair,
and then also Game Pass.
They have been doing this a lot recently, where it's like Untitled Goose Game, Game Pass, they're not like Untitled Goose Game is coming to Xbox, right? Yeah, it's like it's coming to Game Pass.
I mean, I think that's to what you were saying before, as far as them being platform agnostic and stuff. Like they care more about Game Pass as the platform than Xbox as the platform,
right?
And that's so like when they're announcing it coming to something, they would rather announce it
say Game
to
Pass,
the Game Pass. Yeah, exactly. So that's interesting. Is that already on Game Pass now, or is that coming? I can't remember.
We're talking about Octopath Traveler.
Yeah,
I don't know. I'm not gonna play this game, dude, even for the free. You know what? Actually, I could have played it for the free, but I gave it to Logan. For the free. Product provided by Nintendo.
I don't know. It probably says it in here somewhere, and I'm just overlooking it somewhere. In any case, yeah, it's funny to have timed exclusive games on a Nintendo platform, because I feel like that means that it's doing, I don't know, that it's doing well enough for that to be a thing. Does that make sense at all? Like I feel like in some other instances, Nintendo's had to, maybe this isn't as true as I'm saying it as I think it.
I think like usually it would seem like it's not, because like there's been games that like Rayman Legends or whatever, right? Like that was announced as like a Wii U exclusive, and then it was like,
and then it came to other stuff.
And they put it on everything else.
Thinking about like Resident Evil 4, same kind of thing. Like that was GameCube and stuff. So
this man said that he would kill himself before the games that they announced to come to GameCube exclusively came to other platforms.
Who said that?
It was like the head of Capcom or whatever at the time. Goodness. It was some wild crap. But I could.
Man, that's insane. Yeah, man. So yeah, it's just funny because this. What else was it? Daemon X Machina that came to PC. Probably, maybe that's going to come to other stuff at some point eventually. And like, we already know Monster Hunter Rise is going to eventually come to PC. Like maybe even after that, it'll come to other stuff. But I don't know. We'll see. So just interesting that those are happening, but also like cool that, it's coming to Switch first, and that it's being specifically that these games are actually being, optimized and stuff. Cause we're not getting a lot of day and date releases of bigger games of multiplats and stuff. So this is, I don't know. Of those things, I vastly prefer like even if timed exclusives, I prefer exclusives anyway, because it means that they have targeted the platform specifically instead of like trying to just dumb it down in some way. So there it is. Octopath, it's going over to Xbox. And even as it's going over to Xbox, we can't go over to Japan to go see Super Nintendo World, but we'd like to because it's open now.
It's so sad. I'm so sad. It's messed up.
It is.
SMH.
Yep. So there, Super Nintendo World's open. That's just a fun little. There it is. Well, it's kind of crazy to be in the world where it is open instead of just like one where it's supposed to be opening eventually. You know what I mean? Like it feels a bit of a momentous occasion in that regard.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's forever
so
away
sad.
until
I'm
we'll
so
get to go to
sad.
that and like, yeah. I think
it was like
2025
like
for the Florida one now.
Yeah, when they announced that, and they were like, "It's coming 2023." That seems so far, so far. And now it's like, we might get it out by 2025. You know, like that's what things like. Oh, I hate this. I hate everything.
Yeah.
But I wanted to go to the Japan one. Like,
Yeah.
but nope, not happening. Not anytime soon.
Just get that vaccine, man.
Yeah.
Then, So there it is. That's all the news we've got for today. We did it. Good job, news.
We did.
You happened. There wasn't a ton, but that's all right. Now we're getting into some comments. You and I both made videos that are sort of related.
They are.
And people left some comments, and we're going to talk
about
them. So, any thoughts on yours before we get into the comments?
I'm annoyed because I was prepared. I did the whole video. The video was done. And then my sister was like, well, actually beforehand, my sister's like, it's Sunday. You want to like hang out, you know, watch the girls, you know, all that stuff. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, sure, whatever, dude. I got to be back by Tuesday because that's when I have to. Well, actually, no, I said Monday night because that's when I had to like finish my video. And then, you know, kicking the ball down the court more and more, being like, can you like watch them for a little bit longer? I got to go do blah, blah, blah. You know, stuff happens and whatnot. It's like, I have work to do. And it's like so annoying because it's like, it's so people believe you less when you work for yourself or like respect it less when you work for when you're like, man, I gotta clock in by this time. People are like, oh shoot, yeah, you gotta go to work. But when I'm like, I gotta do my video, man, people are like, whatever. Like you can just push it to tomorrow. And it's like, oh my god.
Yeah, man.
Hey, that was the background for that video. That's why I was late. It wasn't my fault.
It wasn't. So there it is. Yeah. And it was on the Nintendo Switch. No, I'm just kidding. It's on Nintendo Switch. And it's
Nintendo
the fact
Switch.
It's doing great.
It's not doing great, dude. It's dying. It's dying. All the analysts said that it's on the way out, man.
Yep.
Switch is on its last breath. Laying on its deathbed.
What can you do? You know? Probably just chuck them all in the garbage.
Exactly.
Similarly, not really. Wyatt Merrill says, I love my launch Switch. I'm going to chuck it in the garbage. No, he didn't say that. He said, I love my launch Switch. Right now, I have zero interest in a Switch Pro. I'd much rather have a Nintendo focus on software. I'd rather much have Nintendo focus on software like sequels to Breath of the Wild, Mario Odyssey, Mario Party sequel, and Splatoon. I'd also really like to 64 content on my Switch. Let's not forget Metroid. I'd like to get a PS5 ASAP and enjoy that for a few years, then have Nintendo come out with a new iteration of the Switch in 2024.
Yo, I was going to buy a PS5 yesterday, but Walmart told me no. So, rip. Hate to see it.
Sorry about it. Hate to see it.
But also, it's fine because, like, actually, did you know that PlayStation 5 doesn't come out until July 11th? Wow, it's crazy.
Are there any other games besides Ratchet and Clank that you're at all interested in right now?
In the imminent future? No. But there's other games that like eventually are coming out that I would like to play, like the Horizon sequel. I want to play.
Did you play Horizon Zero Dawn? I don't remember.
Yeah. Yes, and I was like, this game exists, but mostly because Breath of the Wild. It was like, man, Breath of the Wild came out 3 days after that video game, and it was like, there's so much stuff in Horizon Zero Dawn where it's like, I started playing it, I didn't finish it, and then Breath of the Wild came out. I played through Breath of the Wild, came back to Horizon Zero Dawn, was like, I can take or leave this video game. Like, it's like
that's hard. Yeah, that's
it
like,
was such a weird thing because it's like so many people like this game is incredible because look at the graphics, and that's literally it. Like that's literally the thing that like it did quote unquote better than Breath of the Wild.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, but like pretty much everything else is better in Breath of the Wild.
And like, not that it's the same, but similar kind of thing.
It's
of
very
like,
similar. Yeah,
well, I was gonna say
like a very
like,
similar approach. Oh, you're saying like
played? Yeah, when I played Skyrim, it was like I just remember so many times being like, man, I wish I could such and such.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
Just because in my mind, like, which I'm not gonna do that in like, I don't know, even Mario Odyssey or whatever, like various games that are completely different.
Yeah,
I have nothing to pull from in that regard. But when they're trying similar kinds of things, then it's, you know, it's too easy.
Yeah, like, and I like that happens a lot when it's like older stuff or whatever. It's like, man, this is like super generic or whatever. Like, and it's like, yeah, but that's because this thing is the thing that made that standard, right?
Right.
But like Horizon Zero Dawn and Breath of the Wild came out at the same time.
Yeah.
So it was like, how is this game so much further ahead in its design and like its gameplay concepts and like all that stuff, and it's on like the inferior platform? You know, it came out within the like couple days after the other thing. It's just wild. But yeah, I want to play the sequel because it's like it's fine. Like I didn't hate it. I just was like, man, this isn't as good as people are saying it is. And that's pretty much it. And I mean, most people that were like, this game's really good, are people that, you know, are PlayStation fans, and they're like, I don't have a Switch, or I don't want to have a Switch. So the game that is my game is better. You know?
Which, I mean, like, you know, I can definitely say that I was on the opposite end of that, and like not having played Horizon, I know that I was like, Breath of the Wild is better, which, like, you know, from a number of opinions, sounds like is also subjectively, factually like kind of true. Maybe, yeah, I don't know. But at the same time, like,
and I will say that Breath of the Wild is better than Horizon Zero Dawn. Like the stuff that I can't with that. Whenever people are like, Horizon Zero Dawn is better because the narrative, and it's like the narrative is bad. I'm like it's good for a video game, but like in the grand scheme of things, it's kind of derivative. It's kind of uninteresting.
I mean, I will say, like, the just the concept in general of like robot animals that are, you know, I mean, they kind of ended up going through a calamity sort of thing, so they're kind of like the Guardians, I guess, in Breath of the Wild. But in any case, just that concept is like neat. That like it's a bunch of mechanical
and I say that not to say that Breath of the Wild story is better, because I don't think that's true either. I just think that what Breath of the Wild does well, it does significantly better than the high points of Horizon Zero Dawn. But that's a different topic entirely. And we'll see if that happens with the sequel to Breath of the Wild. If it's like the same thing, because now I'll feel bad. Like if Horizon Frozen Wilds or whatever the heck it's called, if that ends up like, because it kind of is like hitting on the same points of like, man, you can like swim underwater and you go underground. It's like a lot of the stuff that people are speculating is going to happen with Breath of the Wild. If it's just that, but Breath of the Wild again does it better, it's going to be like, it's so sad. That's so sad.
Yeah. So true. Yeah, that'll be interesting to see kind of how the two of them depart in different ways. But yeah, as far as Wyatt's comment, like I would like to have a Switch Pro. That would be neat. It totally makes sense that you have zero interest. But I also definitely agree that having the focus on software is like, that's just something that they need to, that is where Nintendo in general just thrives. And so like them having as few blips in their lifespan as possible of software, I think is always going to be good for them.
I think that for Switch Pro, I'm in the same place that I'm in with pretty much everything, where it's like, I'm not specifically pulling for it, but if it happens, dope. You know, like I don't need it, but I'll get it. I'll buy it if it happens.
Yeah. I dropped my ring and I was like looking around for it and I found it. But nice, yeah, that's how I feel too. Amp said, when I was 10, I got my first Game Boy. Now my kids are almost the age where I trust them with the Switch Lite. So I'm just waiting for a price drop of it to buy 2 of them. I see momentum keeping going for about 3 or 4 more years if we get price drops and a Switch Plus to hold us over until the Switch 2.
Yeah, that's the exact place that I think that that's what I was thinking of. I mean, I mentioned as much where it's like, I'm similar in the sense that like not even for kids or anything like that. Cause like I said, like I help my sister buy my niece a Switch and I buy her games for her Switch all the time. And my youngest niece, in the event that a swap doesn't come out before she is old enough to appreciate something like that, I'm going to buy her own Switch.
Yeah, right.
And I would do that without batting an eye if it was a sub $200. I'm like, oh, okay, fine. Here you go. Like under $200 for me is like, that's the price where if a friend kind of like, if they don't have a Switch and it kind of seemed like they would enjoy it, I'll buy that. You know, like I'm not even thinking of it. I was like, oh, it's under $200. Exactly like the project. I mean, the freaking, what is the game called? The Bravely Default thing. You saying that you still don't have the game, that is that. If you were like, oh, I don't have a Switch. I mean, if you were like, I don't have a Switch and we didn't freaking make a Nintendo YouTube channel now, like if you told me you didn't have a Switch now and it was still $300, I would buy you a Switch. But like, if we didn't have a Nintendo YouTube channel and you didn't have a Switch and it was under $200, I'm like, okay, right now I'm doing it. I'm buying it.
Suddenly the comments are going crazy. Like, I don't have a.
No, it's not the same thing, dude.
Yeah, exactly.
We got to be closer than that for that to be the case. I'm not saying I would buy it for anybody. I'm saying like people that I know and that are like friends and or family. That price point is like, oh, okay, like I'll buy this.
At that point, it's worth the risk too. You know, like that's definitely a factor where like, yeah, no, for sure. I mean, I remember, our friends, Chris and Steph, they have a Switch now. They got themselves one. But like, if it were less, there were several times that I really thought about like, maybe I'll get them one. But like it being $300 is like, man.
Yeah, $300 is wild just to like spend on like, maybe they'll like it.
Yeah, right, exactly. But if it was under 200, 100%. So like, yeah, there's something that I'm going to bring up in the comments for my video later, but I'll just go ahead and mention now as well, based off of Amp's comment, is like, I think there's a certain, as far as like moving into next gen and that kind of thing, some people want to get the next thing immediately. Some people, more like me, except for specifically within the Switch context, will want to always at least skip one thing because it's more economical. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
I would never. Like I would. I mean, I kind of do it in the sense where it's like, I bought the Xbox because I am that type of person. Like, ooh, new thing. But I knew that I was not, even the Xbox, I wasn't going to play it. Like, I play my Xbox sometimes when it's like now, where it's like, oh, Marvel's Avengers, dope, I'll buy that. It's $30 right now, you know, like that sort of thing.
Yeah.
I buy it to have that ability where I don't have to be in the situation where I'm kind of in now with the PlayStation, where it's like, oh, there's games I want to play, but I can't play it. I mean, not until June 11th. But June 11th, when the PlayStation comes out, if I can't get a PlayStation, it's going to annoy me more that I don't have it, you know?
Yeah, right.
Where it's like, I want to play this thing, but I can't that I don't have it. That being like that freedom to be like, oh, this game that I want is out and I have the platform to play it on is worth that for me.
Yeah.
Personally.
But so, yeah, I guess what I'm thinking with that too is like having more stopgap technology in between the thing that they really want you to buy now and the thing that they really want you to buy later. Like they don't care as much if during these years between this console and the next one, if as many people buy the new Nintendo Switch or the Switch Pro or whatever, comparatively to people buying into the next console. I think my wife's home and dog's going crazy. So like, I think having that Switch Pro or whatever come out at some point so that for people that normally would be like me, to be like, oh, I'm skipping one, but then I can justify buying the next one because I skipped a whole one in there. You know what I mean? Like that's something where like, you know, as opposed to if they didn't have that and just
that's just like another part of it that like I personally don't identify with. Like I see the value in that because I know that those type of people are like, man, I can buy this new pro version of the thing and there's a whole library of games to play it on. But for me, it's like, why, like I can buy, I mean, I'm going to buy it, but I'm buying
Mm-hmm.
an additional one. I wouldn't
Yeah.
wait for that.
Mm-hmm.
To like, okay, I'm buying in, but this thing is like winding down now.
Mm.
So
Well, I
it's
guess
like
I
I
mean
could
I'm
just
saying
use that
too,
money to buy
people.
a new console.
Yeah,
Or
well, I'm saying like people like when so for example, you buy a launch Switch, you skip the Switch Pro, and then when the new Nintendo Switch comes out, you buy the
oh
new
yeah, yeah,
Nintendo
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Switch.
yep.
So it's like a bigger upgrade,
Right,
and you
right,
feel
right,
like
right,
I
right.
saved the money. Like I didn't have the best thing for a little while, but now I've got the best thing. That kind of a
Yeah,
thing.
yeah. I mean, that's kind of the
Feels
logic that I have for like,
yeah,
well, not
like
recently, but that's kind of the logic that I have for phones most
yes,
times, where it's like, okay, I bought the iPhone 7 and
yeah,
then the iPhone 8, but like really like 7S sort of situation
yeah,
came
right.
out. I was like, I don't need that. And then
Mm-hmm.
the thing after that, even I don't think, I didn't get like the phone after that either. And then
Mm-hmm.
no, I did. I got the 11 and then I got the 12. But
Yeah.
that's different. It's different. It's just because at the time I was like, oh yeah, I have that. That's fine.
Uh-huh.
Like,
Yeah.
but it's
So
different.
yeah,
If I was like trying to pinch pennies or whatever,
yeah.
that would be my logic. So yeah, I get it. That makes sense.
Yeah. All right. Next comment. This is from Switch NX. You're the Switch NX.
That's
I knew it. Said I think the Switch is at a midway point. I actually have some theories to back that up as well. Switch Pro, N64, and/or Game Boy coming to Nintendo Online, Game Pass coming to Switch, current success leading to acceleration, etc. I'm guessing to flesh out what, as in like those are things that are yet to come. So therefore, like that assumes another couple of years.
Yeah, but I mean, I'd agree with that in the sense where it's like this could be their way to prolong the life, but I don't know if that's like this is backing up the assertion that it's at its midway point. I think the only thing that we need to know that it's at its midway point is that Nintendo says it's at its midway point. It's selling fun. Like the only time that I'm like, whatever, Nintendo, it's like third pillar stuff, right? Where it's like, oh, we have this new platform and we're not sure if it's going to do well. So just in case, we're going to tell you that we're still going to support the other thing, right? But here there is no other thing. So them saying like, we're not done with this platform yet, and it's still selling fine, they really don't have to. And they didn't do price drops. There's so many different like ace in the hole sort of situations where it's like, man, sales momentum slowing down. All right, 250, like that sort of thing. That to me is enough for them to like, they're not going to end this anytime soon because they don't have to. Like Nintendo doesn't work like that. Like I know a lot of people's logic is like, oh, like they need a new generation of consoles or Switch Pro because more third parties. But why do third parties matter if Nintendo's already the best selling platform and has been for the last 2 years? Like they don't need third parties right now.
I mean, I think honestly, like just thinking of it as their handheld line is like that they are obviously thinking of it as their handheld line is, I guess what I'm saying, because like within the Game Boy, like the Game Boy Pocket and Game Boy Color were all to them the same console, even though Game Boy, the original Game Boy stopped being sold at some point when the Game Boy Color was out, and like similarly Game Boy Advance SP, like those are the same thing, but they're super different, and like same for all the DS.
I mean, they are, but they're not. Like the logic there is more so Game Boy and Game Boy Color is more weird to me. Because Game Boy and Game Boy Color, like Game Boy Color games, are you can't play Game Boy Color games on a Game Boy, but Game Boy Advance games,
I guess
Game
more
Boy
just form
Advance
factor
SP
is like
games you can still play or whatever. Like the Game Boy Advance SP is more like the DS Lite to me, right? Where it's like this is what it should have been.
I guess I'm more saying too, I meant to say like like they stopped selling the original Game Boy Advance at some point during the Game Boy Advance. So like imagining, forward a little bit, if, a new Nintendo Switch comes out or something, that like imagining what they'll stop selling the original one. Like, yeah, sure. Why not? At some point, if it's the same price and the hardware's better and they've sold out of the original ones, then like, of course they'll stop selling the original one and just everybody they'll still support the
but
original
again,
one,
like I don't even know if they would do that, because like especially now, because like the only time that I could think of them doing that where they just completely were like, all right, we're done with this line in recent memory was the DS and the 3DS, where they eventually came out with like the new 3DS and all right, we're done with the regular 3DS now. But most other times they're like, okay, we have this new line and the other older line is now our budget line. So like I
Right.
can see a future where they're like, all right, the Switch Pro or whatever they call it is out,
Mm-hmm.
and now the Nintendo Switch, like the OG one, is like our midpoint, and then the Switch Lite is like the super budget one or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for
Um,
sure.
and
I
like
think to me, yeah,
even if
yeah.
like the Switch Pro was like, I could see them be like Switch Pro 350, and then like Nintendo Switch 250 or
Uh-huh.
200, and then Nintendo Switch Lite $160. Like I could see that being their product
Yeah.
offering.
I think to me, my best guess is Switch Lite is going to stay pretty much exactly as it is. Maybe the like a silent refresh of that again, where like if they change
Like
chipsets, then they're
like the
just going to
red
have to
box
change.
version.
Right, exactly. So like Switch Lite and then new Nintendo Switch and new Nintendo Switch XL, where there's one that's the same form factor, but the internals are just upgraded in whatever same way that would
Like the
happen to
new
the Switch.
3DS.
And then the other one is like, yeah, I just think that is just an easy way to go for them, where it's pretty clear, like you can do pretty much everything on all of these, but well, you can't dock the Switch Lite, but you know what I mean. Yeah, I don't know. I think
I
definitely
think it
though, to your
depends on
point,
how big of a jump
yes,
the
true.
new Switch is.
Yeah.
Because like if it is that whole thing where it's like there's exclusive games on this,
Right.
and maybe they'll go like like in a lot of exclusive games, not games that are like, oh, these games run better or whatever.
Like the Game Boy Color kind of framework of
exactly.
exclusive games. Yeah, that's
Right. Like I could
that's a
see
lot of
them
exclusive
then
games, yeah.
doing that, but it doesn't seem like that. It
Right.
doesn't seem like they need to do that because the fact that like they're going to run on like very similar architectures, if not the same exact architecture, just more advanced,
Right,
more
yeah.
advanced version of that. So like it's like the Xbox situation, right? Where Xbox Ones are still a thing.
Yeah.
So like you could still play it on that for however long until they're not anymore. So like once it gets to a point where it's like we're done supporting backward, you know, like still releasing Switch games, then they say, okay, we're like no more Switch on store shelves.
Yeah.
At that point.
Agreed.
Oh, no.
Last comment. This is from C Red. Said, "I'm no Nintendo expert."
How dare you?
I can't believe you'd write a comment if you're not a Nintendo expert. No, I'm no Nintendo expert. The Switch was my first console since GameCube, but I don't think it's peaked. Yeah, it's sold a bunch, but I don't think the Switch has peaked in games. Outside tons of indie games and some ports, I don't really think the Switch really released enough of a library. It's been 4 years, but technically it's been 3. 2020 was a dead year. Nintendo didn't do much of anything that year. So in terms of the Switch, I don't see Nintendo going for a completely new console. Likely a Switch Pro or Switch 2 will be made to extend the console. We'll come back to that. The hybrid console is the best idea Nintendo has ever come up with, in my opinion, and it's something Nintendo and Sony and Microsoft currently cannot do yet. So I think the Switch idea is staying for a long time.
I think you had a different read on this than the intent of the video, because the video is less so about like are like
the content,
the video games that they release.
Yeah.
Are they the best that they'll be or whatever? It was more so the sales, because the 2020 was a dead year is very not true. It was their best year. And like that's the thing. Like, and that is what the video is more so about. It's like, are they done leapfrogging themselves? Because since the Switch came out, they've leapfrogged themselves. Is 2020 the last time that they're going to do that? Is more so the question, that because I think that like that's subjective. Like there have been plenty, and it has literally been the case every single year, and that's why I made a point to like name the games that like are divisive, but like the games, you know, where it's like Breath of the Wild was 2017. If that's your favorite Switch game, you probably think that the Switch has peaked at 2017. If you're like, oh man, there hasn't been a Breath of the Wild since then, so the Switch isn't as good. But there's millions of people that is not the case. Some people's favorite Switch game is Animal Crossing, some's Pokemon, some's whatever, you know. And in that case, their favorite year is most likely the year that video game came out. You know, like, so it's just like, I don't know. I think people are too insular with the definition of what the best year or like whatever that is. I try not to do, especially moving forward. Like to me, to say that the Switch's best year was 2017 is stupid because 2017's games didn't disappear in 2018, and moving forward from there. So like,
I mean, it's
a
different thing to
like,
say,
oh man, it's wonderful because we don't know what's next. It's like, who cares what's next? We have what we had before, so it's like it just weird. To say that definitively, like
yeah, I mean, and it's like there's a difference between saying that for like my most enjoyable year with the Switch was such and such a year, like because that's a very but in talking about like for the Switch library, obviously every year is better than the last because all the games are still there.
To the prior one,
So I mean, you can't individually play the same games for the first time ever again, but that's just several different conversations that all kind of get lumped into the same thing. So yeah, I definitely and like you said, this comment,
whole thing, the context of like it peaking or whatever, like the thought there, especially sales wise, nobody that's buying the Switch is playing the same game for the first time. Again, it's like the people that bought their first Switch for Animal Crossing in 2020 are playing Breath of the Wild for the first time whenever they get to it.
Yep. The bit of the comment that I thought was interesting,
the Switch 2 thing,
because like I wonder, to me that feels very obviously.
I think he's saying like when the Switch is done, the concept of that is done. So he's saying that like Nintendo shouldn't be done with the concept. They should do this again and then maybe move on after that.
Yeah, so that's funny actually, and that'll come up in sort of a comment in my video that's going to be interesting. Speaking of which
I mean makes sense because like look at every other console manufacturer, literally every single one of them. They all, including past ones, just did the same thing again. But Nintendo is like, remember that last thing? We're not doing it ever again. Like the closest that they were to like doing that was when they literally did it, where it's like they did the NES and then they did the Super version, and then after that it was like, all right, we're doing something different every single time.
I mean, like even the because my video is about sequel consoles and stuff, and there's like the N64 and GameCube have similar identities in some regards, but also like they're like, I don't know, just in marketing of like the GameCube, it has a handle, you can carry places, it's a cute, like it's silly that's a thing, but that is different, like
I think that like GameCube and N64 have very different identities, I think, like because GameCube was like this weird place of like they tried to be like, hey, us too, like we're really powerful too. Like N64 on paper was technically that, but it didn't have that because of the storage medium. I was like, all right, well, like you could run this game or whatever, but your storage medium's holding us back, so we're not going to put the game on there. But GameCube was like them being like, we're more powerful than PS2, but also the weird, like we got a handle and it's this freaking like purplish blue color, and like it's for kids and also for serious gamers, whereas N64 was like still like we're for kids, Mario Kart.
So I mean, speaking of that, I guess let's get into my video. But yeah, this was something, I mean, we talked about this a little bit, like I mentioned in the video, we talked about this kind of last week, and then obviously the tweet, Emily Rogers. I keep accidentally, a coworker of mine's named Emily, and I keep accidentally saying her last name instead. I'm like, nope, different person. So yeah, it was just an interesting thing. I still, actually, I'm just going to skip to the comment that I mentioned before. So Seven left a comment and said, I personally don't think there will be a Switch 2, and am fully expecting Nintendo to pull a Nintendo and create a completely new and weird thing we'll love even more, or hate with a passion, but still be talking about for years. Somehow, I think it'll be backwards compatible with the Switch though. So this is definitely something I'd thought about and didn't talk about, is like, yeah, what if they do something that, because like, again, all of the
I don't think the form factor is going anywhere. I think they made too much of a permanent change that they haven't. I mean, we would see them revert it if that was the case. The thing that had the writing on the wall, like when me and Bob before we even knew each other, made videos like predicting the Switch and calling it, was because Nintendo merged their handheld and their console divisions.
Yeah.
So like that in and of itself was saying like, oh yeah, okay, they're consolidating, they're done, like having like separation of church and state, you know, and unless they're going to like unseparate it, it doesn't really make sense for them to like go back and just like, okay, we're just doing a console or whatever, right? Because they're, even now, their handheld division still makes very different things, right? Like their handheld studios still make games that are pretty handheldy, you know. So I doubt that, again, unless we see some sort of thing, some change beforehand changing that.
And I think they've seen the value just in general of like the fact that within the Switch, if they'd gotten reports back and it was like, oh, people use it 90% handheld, 10% docked, then that would be maybe something to where they'd be like, you know, we're okay, maybe we will switch it up or do something. But the fact that like it's achieving its purpose, that like it is literally 50-50, that like it's 25 and 50 pretty much, you know, of like people using exclusively one, exclusively the other, 50% both, like,
right.
So, but that said, I mean, it might look more different than we would expect it to, but fulfill the same function. Like, I think you're right for sure as far as the functionality staying. But yeah, what if it looked?
I wouldn't be surprised if it looked different,
more
but
different,
I don't think that part matters.
Right. Yeah.
like I think that
it could look a lot like a white box, and then you have kind of like a handheld tablet that's separate from it, and it feels like kind of plasticky. Yeah.
I think that the main like Nintendo's trajectory through consoles has looked like, especially since the days of Game Boy and then moving forward, has been them A/B testing, right? Where they never had a period where they outright failed, and that's because the handheld side of it was keeping them afloat when their consoles would fail. Yeah. So if anything, I could see them going more in the handheld direction than in the console direction. Like I could see them being like, no more Switch, it's just a handheld now. But I can't see them doing the other way around.
No.
Because
the fact that their worst selling handheld, the 3DS, sold almost as much as Microsoft's best selling console, the Xbox 360, at like 87 million compared to the 3DS's 75 million. Like that's
saying that's saying something. So it's like yeah, I think that like, and again, I think that that's largely due to IP. That's why it's like, because the handheld is the only place where you can literally get all of the best of Nintendo, or at least it was, right? Like you had the consoles or whatever, and like Pokemon was on it kinda, but it was like the compromised version of Pokemon, ironically, you know.
Right.
Like it's the more powerful hardware, but like it's the fake Pokemon experience on it, right? But now we're in this place where everything is on it. You know, we don't have to be like, is this Mario Golf going to be a handheld or a console version? You know, you're not like, that was like something in the early days of the channel too for me and Logan, where we're like, man, I hope that the next game they put it on Wii U and not just the 3DS or whatever, right? Like now,
I mean, even in the Switch days, that was the thing. You know, like the number.
It was a thing for a very short period of time, but I mean, that was informed by that, because that's what they used to do. Where it's like, this Mario Kart is a handheld game. You know, I was like, maybe next time it would be console. But we don't have to do that anymore. Now it's just like, you don't have to ask, will it be handheld or a console version? I mean, put the next Smash Brothers game on Game Boy Advance. Like,
they might, you know, maybe they've come full circle, and after the Switch, they just go back. It's the NES, and there it is. So, I do think the part of Seven's comment that somehow I think it'll be backwards compatible with the Switch, though. I mean, the way we're saying it, it's probably, I think it would make the most sense. But again, it's like, it's more on the
business end of things. It seems like Nintendo and NVIDIA have a long-standing relationship on their hands. So if NVIDIA is involved, it's most likely going to be backwards compatible.
And that's, I mean, like, to your, because you made that point kind of in your video, where like every other time they've been rewriting whatever, starting from scratch, you know, where they made new consoles and stuff. or if they didn't, it was like, we're just throwing 3 GameCubes in a Wii U or something like
Yeah.
that. Pretty much.
Yeah.
But yeah, the fact that they're working with other people, that's like, yeah, especially
because before it was like
thinking
they
about like,
they sort of did that, but the only because with what was it? What was the company called back then? They basically work with AMD.
George
Everybody
Foreman.
worked with AMD for forever, but it was like
Uh-huh.
ATI or something like that back then.
Mhm.
They, since the GameCube generation, did a version of the NVIDIA thing,
Mhm.
but within that company, they transitioned. So for a long time, they would make their consoles with
Mhm.
a PowerPC architecture, and then
Yeah.
they eventually changed to x86. I think the Wii U is still PowerPC. Yeah, it's PowerPC. We use definitely PowerPC. So like now we know that they're not making any shifts like that or any like it's going to be a similar architecture. With the older versions, whenever they did backwards compatibility, they would do it on like literally that chip, but a enhanced version of that. And that is what we're like, unless they do something that is very unlike companies that partner together and them themselves, Nintendo, we can pretty confidently say it's going to have some sort of backward compatibility, if not full backward compatibility. Because another behind the scenes change that they made was like they changed their account system. So now it's like games that you buy are locked to your, I mean, like tied to your account, blah, blah, blah.
And like
there's just a lot of writing on the wall that says that they're probably going to stick with this.
Yeah. And just thinking from the, from client, not customer perspective, how come I couldn't think of that word? Thinking of a customer perspective, like if we're thinking of that, like, you know, theoretical buy it around launch, or even like the Switch Pro comes out, now I'm finally going to buy the original Switch, save some money, and then Switch 2 comes out. I'm going to skip the Pro and get the Switch 2 or something like that. I think ultimately what you really want is like anybody that is invested even a little bit, you want to like pull them forward as much as possible and not be able to leave them back on the thing that they were on. Like so many people with Wii's,
I mean,
bought Wii's, and like they're done. They have the Wii, and that was their gaming experience. You know what I mean? Whereas like there wasn't an on-ramp to the next thing. I mean, the Wii U could have been theoretically, as far as like it's backwards compatible. So like it's got that, but you know,
but even that kind of wasn't. Like that's the thing that's weird about how Wii U handled that, where it's like you couldn't just put a Wii disc in and I'm playing a Wii game. You know, you gotta go to the Wii mode and then put your Wii disc in.
I didn't even know that.
It was very inelegant. And it's kind of for that reason where it's like, all right, we're gonna put a Wii chip in this. That is like it had a coprocessor that basically was just used to play Wii games. So it was like, all right, well, that's a way to do that.
So I think that's just always going to be a source of friction, is like, how many people are you going to get that just are casual enough gamers that wouldn't be paying attention to get the next thing at all? Like who bought in for just Animal Crossing, and that they're just, you know, they're just going to be playing just Animal Crossing, you know? Yeah, exactly. There's got to be.
It's just like smart delivery now, where it's like, you can have an Xbox or whatever, but just know that once you get an Xbox Series X, you're going to have an even better version of every video game you own. You know, like that sort of thing is enough for people to be like, oh shoot, I already have 72 games on this platform. I guess I'll buy it.
And like the nice thing for Nintendo too is like they know what games are the ones that people are going to want to just stick on just the Switch for. So like Animal Crossing being a really easy example. If they can do something to really incentivize just Animal Crossing players to get the next thing, then like that's an easy way to target, instead of like just going out into the atmosphere and being like, I don't know, somebody buy the next thing. Like, this comment is from Video Boy, who said, a big thing with the successors is that they had viable competitor systems. SNES had Genesis and PS1 a bit. GameCube had PS2 and Xbox. Wii U had the PS4, Xbox One, also 360 and PS3 for a bit. The original systems didn't really have competitors, aside from the N64, but the sales speak to that. If the Switch has a better competitor, which I doubt, it might sell worse. Edit. Further to that point, the 3DS had smartphones, which in my opinion stole the casual market that bought the original DS.
Yeah, that's true.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that, to your point, the Switch, like, look at the other handhelds. Like, he didn't mention really any handhelds in this other than
Mm-hmm.
the 3DS and the DS.
Well, I guess because they didn't have
They didn't
competitors. Right.
because they can't.
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
the Game Boy
Yeah.
Advance and the PSP and the
Mm-hmm.
DS kind of all like
Mm-hmm.
crossed into each other, right?
Yeah.
And PSP couldn't do anything. Like,
Yeah.
it's direct competition. Like, in the grand scheme of things, it's direct competition, the 3DS and the DS and all that
Mm-hmm.
stuff with smartphones, right? But at that point, you're so successful that you have to look outward. It's kind of
Yeah.
like, we're now they are trying to say that their competition isn't Xbox and PlayStation.
Mm-hmm.
Their competition is Netflix, because at the end of the day, it is. Like, your competition is whatever is taking up people's free time.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that that's more of the way that they're looking at it, and the way that
Yeah.
sales happen, right? Because I don't think consumers really think about it like that anymore. I think the
Mm-hmm.
smartphone market changed that for the better. Because now
Yeah.
you have people buying $1,000 phones every single year. So,
Mm-hmm.
like, to be like, I'll buy 2 consoles, it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah. I mean, also it's interesting how like the phone market, I feel like has, yes, on one hand, that's like tons of people play games on their phone, but also there is an amount of people where it's an on-ramp to some degree to some other people, where like we were hanging out with our friends, Chris and Steph, yesterday, and Stephanie was playing Two Dots, a game, a mobile game that I was like, oh, I was playing that like 3 weeks ago, and then I stopped playing it. And she was like, oh, I just started playing it the other day. And it's 100%. I mentioned, I was like, yeah, once I got to like a level 150, which, I mean, it's like a Candy Crush kind of game, so it's not that far in. But after like a week or two, once I got to level 150, it started to do the like the free,
Give us money.
yes, exactly, where it's like this level for no real reason, just going to be way harder and more RNG based than any of the other ones. So like, either use all your power-ups that you got, or I don't know, like play 100 times and hope for good RNG one time. And so that kind of thing is like, man, it was really relaxing and fun at the beginning, but this is the kind of thing that now makes me think like, man, I just should find a better puzzle game and pay for it, so not have to deal with this kind of thing. And I feel like there's people where that kind of thing happens. They played Mario Kart Tour or whatever, and they're like, man, I just wish I had a real Mario Kart. And there's real Mario Kart,
Yep.
So that's, I don't know that Nintendo's going to be pushing that specifically, but just like getting into console games. Yeah,
They
right.
tried.
Yeah. And that's obviously the whole thing. It's not to say mobile gamers aren't gamers or whatever, by any means, but it's just that like,
They just got to find a better way to on-ramp them, because it's like they tried to use gamer logic on a non-gamer platform, and the people that they're trying to win over with that are like, nah. And like, even gamers have this weird thing where like they decide what their expectation is based on the ecosystem that they want to side with, right? Where it's like, in games, I'm used to paying $60 for a video game. But I know on mobile, the platform that I hate on all the time and say is not worth my time and blah, 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 I know games are like $2. So the fact that you're trying to charge me $10 to play a mobile game is, like that whole thing where it's like, no, they're not trying to charge you $10 to play a mobile game. They're trying to charge you $10 to play a Nintendo game on mobile, which is, at the time, a decisively different thing. But now, because people didn't want to give them $10 for a Nintendo game, they're like, all right, we'll play your game then.
Right. Yeah, it is weird. Like, even I mean, like you said, I feel weird paying any money at all for a game on my phone, even though it's like, it's still a game. It's just on my phone, but like,
literally for me, like, all things. How much time am I going to spend with this thing? All right, how much do I spend for other things that I spend a similar amount of time doing that thing? Is that similar? All right, cool, I'll give you money. Like Pokemon Go, I got to a point where it's like, we're friends on Pokemon Go, and I'll open the freaking thing, and I have an amount of friends where it's like, when I'm at the point now, I open gifts and I have no room. So I'm like, all right, well, same. I need more room. So I was like, I'll give you freaking $10 to expand my bag. Like, whatever. Nice, I spend a lot of time playing this game. It's worth it.
Yeah, I'm just dumb and on the other end, or stingy or something on the other end. I haven't had room in my bag for like 3 weeks now because as soon as I
Oh my
got
God.
more
It's
friends, I was like,
worth, dude. It's
but
worth.
I also like I play it enough. Also, it does make me use my incenses because like I've got 100 Pokeballs or something like that, and that's a lot of my items. And so I can just put up an incense, catch a bunch of Pokemon, have a bunch more space, and then have the experience
Yeah,
and
but
the
then you're going to
items.
get to a point where for me, it was like a time versus money thing.
Yeah.
It's like I could spend the time doing that and burning items and then
Uh-huh.
like go through and fill up my freaking Pokemon. Like I don't have any more room for more Pokemon. So I had to go through and then send them all off for candy or
It's all
whatever.
very
And it's like,
relatable.
I don't want to think about any of that. I want to just give you $10 to not have to hear about it for at least another 3 months. Like,
Yeah, it was so much better. Like my office was right outside of a Pokemon gym, so I could get
yo,
some
literally, like I
coins.
know you probably get a lot of the same. I don't know if you look at it. I don't really look at it when people do like they send the sticker. I mean, not the stickers.
Oh yeah,
I
yeah,
mean,
uh-huh.
the gifts or whatever, and it shows where you get the gift from. Literally across the street as a Pokestop. So it's like it's like I have so many of that one specifically.
I don't have one across the street, but Ashley and I'll go probably like once, maybe twice a week to just like a little shopping area near us. Just park in the car and hit like 4 Pokestops that are right around us, and just hang out, listen to like loot pots or something, and then just play away at some Pokemon Go and get. You've probably seen helping hands. It's just a bunch of statues that are around the shopping area. They each have a thing. What a time. All right, last comment from this video. GK Dope Esquire said, I don't know how much of that is any of your real name, but I love it so much. It's just so fun every time. I'll make an aside real quick. I had to go to the post office yesterday to send my dad something, which reminded me of when I mailed a Wonderful 101 t-shirt to Max that was exclusive to PAX. And I wrote in the address label, and because it had his address, so I could put whatever I technically wanted for his name. So I put Maxwell L. Esquire the Third or something like that. And I thought it was very funny and stuff. And then as soon as I was starting to leave or finish up or whatever, the post office worker was like, do you something like, do you want Maxwell Esquire to be able to track this? And I was like, hearing somebody else say it made it so much better.
Did you like laugh? Did you audibly laugh with that?
I tried to hold it in. I was like,
okay.
No, that's all right. Because I couldn't tell him that's not his real name, Mr. Post Office Worker, who like it's a federal thing. So I just like, oh no, it's fine. Yeah, whatever. Made me so happy. So yes, GK Dope Esquire says, I think I agree with you, necessity. I know Nintendo is not just marketing to families, but in my opinion, it is the most family-friendly of the gaming console companies. A lot of families might not want to pay money to buy a product they see as being the same as the one they got before. To your iPhone point, think of how many people hold on to their phones for years and years. There are always going to be those of us who will quickly latch on to the new thing because it's new, but that's not how most consumers buy things. If Nintendo isn't going the iPhone route in a way similar to the way you and AJ have spoken about previously, do you think it would make more sense for Nintendo to let the generation run a bit longer than they think they should? Personally, I think although the follow-up devices might not sell as well overall, they might sell more units in that time frame than the previous console would if the generation continued on. Okay, I see what you're saying.
I think it might not be. I mean, like factually, it's not, because most people I don't think can like either feasibly afford that or think that it's a responsible purchase for them for one reason or another. But I think there's a sizable amount of people that justify buying a new phone, and maybe they sell their last one, or they give their last one to their kid or their friend or their significant other or whatever, right? And I think that is similar for the console thing. Like I could literally see this scenario happening now, where it's like if a new Switch came out and I bought that and then I gave that one to Nyla, my new one, because it's the newer version. No, she has the new Switch, but like if she had the older one or whatever, right? I give that to her and then she gives it to my other niece. Like that sort of situation, right? I think that is how a lot of people justify buying new consoles and kind of how they always did. Like
Mm-hmm.
Nintendo, them coming out with a Switch Pro or whatever the case may be would be no different from how they've done it in the past. In fact, it's more conservative than they have been in the past, because in the past they're like Game Boy Advance, Game Boy Advance SP, Game Boy
Mm-hmm.
Advance SP Lite, Game Boy Micro. Like they come out with
Yeah.
so many different versions of the same exact platform, especially for handhelds,
Mm-hmm.
that I don't think they have any reservations for that.
Yeah.
And I think that they know that for one reason or another, somebody's going to be the audience for this new thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it does seem to be more technology driven than like staggering it out for artificially kind of driven, where it's just like, this is, yeah, we came up with this cool thing. It's available now. We did R&D and it'll be ready at this point in time. So we'll do it at this point in time. And like some of that would line up with games or whatever. And I'm sure obviously they take into consideration like how long, pretty much this whole part that we're talking about, like how long would I wait if I were Nintendo? And like it probably is less about that side of it, even though that factors
because
in, and more
I
just
think that even though the bulk of Nintendo's audience, or anybody's audience, honestly, is like families, the most important side of their audience is the people that buy first, because they're the evangelists to sell it to the families.
And also, so I mean, like for a lot of those people, they're people, so like say people in their 20s or 30, early 30s or something like that, they're the people that are going to be families, and that's like a long-term investment for Nintendo and stuff as well, as opposed to marketing towards parents or kids or parents for their kids. It's that's
look at their early Switch branding, and what
100%.
we talked about even before, like me and Logan and like a lot of Nintendo influencers and stuff like that talked about how the most important thing is to make college kids want the thing. Because that makes everybody else want it. It makes the kid that wants to be like the college kid want it. It makes the parent that knows that their kid wants to be like the college kid be like, oh yeah, this is the thing that the kids are into. Everybody in technology is looking at the college kid to see if this thing is like something worth buying. It was even the case for the Wii. Even the thing that like now in retrospect we look at as like probably the most like family forward Nintendo console ever. They started their marketing to the cool college kid. Like that's just how that works. So I think that is the most important thing. That's why they're like, okay, we got the new, like to Parker's point, technology is like, all right, this made this thing possible for us, whether it made this technology cheaper enough for us to justify it, or made this idea that we had realizable. Now it's a thing, and we made it. Here it is.
Especially in the way that, and they've said this, but like because this is almost like a handheld first and foremost, just in the way that they're thinking about it, and in the way that they're thinking about competition specifically, that they will have fewer reservations about putting out a new thing or testing something out or whatever. Because that's, I think with the, like you said, with the Game Boy Advance, or I mean like the original Game Boy, same thing, where like Game Boy Pocket, Game Boy Mini, Game Boy Color and stuff like that. Like they just put stuff out as it seemed fitting, because there wasn't like competition to have to strategize against them so much. It was just strategizing for yourself, and that like gives a lot more freedom. Whereas I think with their home consoles, they had to strategize more against other competitors. And
I think it's also a thing of Nintendo with their revisions. It seems like they don't try revisions until their platform has a certain level of success. And because look at the history of their platforms. The only ones that got revisions were the successful ones. Like the NES got a revision, the SNES got a revision, the N64 did not. The GameCube sort of did, and the N64 sort of did with the DB.
The Panasonic Q?
The Panasonic Q or whatever. But it wasn't like like worldwide. Like here's this. But I was just naming that for posterity's sake, because people are going like, well, actually, no, it really didn't. But like the ones that are not successful did not get revision. And then look at the Wii. The Wii got revisions. So it's like that is the thing that I think decides whether they revise their platform or not. I don't even think they care to be like competition or whatever. It's like, is this selling enough for us to try to sell it again.
Yeah.
Right. Like, because those are the people that they are really trying to sell it to. Like it feels like, and it's going to sell to people. It's like the straw that broke the camel's back sort of approach, where it's like, that was the one thing I was waiting for. But more often than not, they're trying to sell it to us again, so we can tell you to buy it, so you can tell your family to buy it, so your family can tell other families to buy it. You know,
yeah. The only thing that I'm like, man, I wish, because they've done some decently cool special editions, but like they've done way cooler special editions of other consoles in the past. And my gut thought is that they're waiting to make them cooler and cooler over time.
Yeah.
And that's like, I
just
get
look
it,
at,
but
like,
that sucks.
Just look at the trajectory. The only like, I think the best special edition Nintendo Switch by far is the one that nobody else can buy, and it's the Nintendo Labo one. That is the dopest.
Yes.
That is the dopest Nintendo Switch that they have ever made. But now we look at the newest special edition Switch.
Yeah,
I think that proves that point, where it's like, now it's like, it's all red this time except for Kickstarter, but it's all red this time.
And like the Skyward Sword Joy-Cons are definitely the coolest official Joy-Cons. Or I mean, even if it's not your style, but it's like the most, ambitious Joy-Cons or whatever. So like that's definitely, they're like going to do more and more of that, so that, you're like, oh, I'll get that because it's a little cooler than just a regular Switch. Oh, I'll get that because it's actually significantly cooler. And then eventually it's like, no, it's too cool to pass up, whatever is the idea. So yeah. So there's that. All right, that's it from
They did similar things with DS too, because DS, it was like they kind of did like the only, or one of the only, I don't know, they might have did it with like Monster Hunter or something, but like this special edition like Wind Waker Wii U or whatever, it was just like a decal. Like that's how they did it with 3DS for a long time with the special edition consoles. But then they got to a certain point where it's like, your 3DS is a Pokeball now. Like it feels like they kind of always do that inch forward strat, which, I mean, it's a good strat.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate for us, but it's a good strat.
It is, yeah. And that's it from our videos. And now we've got the last section, which is Q&A, as always. True. So there it is. So YouTube community, we put up a poll every week. This one was, I saw somewhere that I think specifically in Japan, Super Mario 3D World is selling faster than Super Mario 3D All-Stars was. And so I'm curious if that's just Japan or not. I mean, we'll find out some numbers, down the road and stuff. But yeah, that's pretty crazy. And so I asked people if they played, if they bought 3D World, 3D All-Stars, both or neither. And then they answered that and left some questions.
It's funny, like how little I care about physical goods. Because at one point, like when I heard it was limited, I was like, man, all right, I'll probably buy that. I'm going to buy it before they pull it off store shelves or whatever. And then it just got to a point where it's like, nah.
That's how I feel too. Is like, there's a part of me that wants to get it physically because the whole, it won't be available anymore. But also, like, how many games are out there that only ever, quote unquote, only ever sold 10 million copies total? And this is one that, and like they didn't stop at some point, but that's as many. I think this is
the only difference here is verbiage. It's literally the only difference between a limited, quote unquote, a limited release and a regular release is the fact that they were like, hey man, we're not making this anymore. And then that just expedited the process. That just made people that were going to buy it eventually buy it now. Yeah.
Because it's gonna, I mean, like otherwise every other game, Xenoblade Chronicles 2 apparently is very hard to find physically now because everybody bought all the physical ones they made, and they're not making any more physical ones because they're done with it. That's which, that said, very glad that we're in the digital era where that's not an issue as far as being able to play the game.
That's the only part about it that's messed up.
That's
the only part of it that I'm like, if they pull it off the eShop and they do not do what we think they probably want to do and break it up and say, hey, here's all of them individually, that's messed up. That I'm more mad about for but the physical limited release, I couldn't care less about that. Like, that's just normal. That's business as usual. Like,
So, Weird Hylian says, bought both physical. Nice. James Fenlon, because I said, if you bought both physical, then you're a sixth dimensional being. James Fenlon says, first, this is more proof I live in the sixth dimension.
Yo, I need the rest of your proof. Let me know.
We'll see. I told him he was a Nexus being.
Yo, that's wild.
Like the Scarlet Witch.
Mhm.
A bean.
The Scarlet Witch.
Falcon Winter Soldier happens
Yo,
today. I need to
okay,
watch.
but no, let's do it at the end. Did you at the
I haven't
very
seen it.
end after
Oh,
the
okay.
question? No, not
Yeah.
that. I'm
Okay.
talking about freaking Wanda. We'll do a spoiler cast.
Okay, sounds good.
At the very end.
So no one can get mad. A bean says, I really want to buy 3D World. I went with 3D All-Stars for now since I literally have no other way to play 64, Sunshine, or Galaxy, and I didn't want to miss this opportunity to finally play Sunshine and Galaxy for the first time, but I still do want to get both. Valid. They're both good. / all three good. That's it. Like Galaxy for being great.
No, I'm trying.
I went back and was like, oh, I'll finish up some stars in Galaxy. And like after playing 3D World, it's actually like, I don't know, like Galaxy's great, but there's something about 3D. I don't know. I wouldn't say 3D World is better, but it's just 3D World was easier to just jump into and just play like a level or two, whereas Galaxy not as much for some reason.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is about it.
I think it's still like, even though the formula, like level wise, is more like point to point, you're done and you're out.
Mm-hmm.
The experience of playing the game is like the hub world,
right?
You know, like
yes,
you're
exactly.
in. It's like the whole thing I'm talking about, where it's like it feels more like a commitment to play a game on console than it is on a handheld. It's that sort of thing. It's like it puts you in the mindset of like, I'm playing a console game right now.
Yep. Yeah, and I guess that's something where like at that point it was like, I'm going to bed. I just want to play a level of something, and like I could play 3D Mario or 3D
3D
Mario Galaxy level. But yeah, I didn't feel like having the big grandiose something. I just wanted to play a little something, and oddly enough, 3D World would have been better for that. And so there it is. So yeah, both good games. Andrew Vasquez said, would you rather lose the sense of touch, example, holding someone's hand, feeling the wind, hot and cold, or lose the sense of taste? Just finished playing God of War on my PS5, and I thought of this question. Don't want to spoil anything in case someone hasn't played it, so I'll leave it at that. The game is amazing, and everyone should play it if they get the chance.
Yo, I'll play it once I get my PS5 and play it for the free. I don't know if this is easy for you, but this is easy for me. Easily taste.
Yeah.
Because like I like food fine, but more often than not, food is like strictly a thing that I have to do to survive for me. Like there are multiple times a day where I forget that eating is even a thing I need to do. And people that talk to me frequently would know, like there's multiple days where it's like people will be like, have you eaten today? Nah, but thanks for reminding me. I'll do that. It's 3 p.m., but like I'll eat now. So no, easily like lose the sense of taste. Like
I think sense of taste, like it would suck for a little bit, but at some point it would just, like I thought about that at some point.
Something you need to do.
I feel like I've said it on here before, but like things tasting good is purely a benefit. Like that's, like you have to eat food. You've got to get food in your body to be able to sustain yourself. But like the fact that it tastes good is great, but it's like also useless other than telling my body which things it wants to eat.
Yeah, like the closest thing that like taste gets to like being like functional is like, this tastes like poison. I'm spitting this out. Like, but like not in the same way that like fire hot, and all the other benefits of like holding hands and other things. Yeah, that's where I was going with that.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean 100%. Like, yeah, very easily lose the sense of taste comparatively. So there you go. Good question though. Fun times. I'm very curious what the context in God of War is, especially because like neither of those are things that in a game you experience like as a player. So it doesn't feel like I could imagine either sight or hearing being something where like there's a gameplay representation of that. Like, would you rather lose a sense of sight or sense of hearing? And then it's just like, oh, I can't see anything in this area. That's hard. Or
there's probably some artsy stuff, like
right.
I'm not going to say further unless I'm correct. Because
Sounds good.
once I thought of it, I was like, that seems like it's probably the thing. I'm not going to say.
Next one. This is from JBell17 says, I bought both. It's really crazy to me that 3D World sold more. 3D All-Stars is limited and has at least one game that a lot of Nintendo fans likely have great memories of. Unless there's a big surge of 3D All-Star sales going on and it hasn't been counted yet. And I think that's, to clarify, it was that in Japan, it was selling faster, but I don't think overall it sold more.
Yeah, so, no, it hasn't.
Yeah.
I'd be shocked if it sold more. But I think to your point about like it has at least one game that a lot of people have played and have great memories of. There's also a high possibility that at least two of these games, if not all three, one way or another, is still easily accessible. Because like all of these games have sold millions of units, you know, like they're like, and a lot of people hold on to their, especially Nintendo hardware and software,
especially Mario games.
It's so expensive. Like people hold on to this stuff. So like a lot of people have access to all three of these video games. But 3D World, on the other hand.
And especially with Bowser's Fury, which I feel like for fans of Mario 64 or something like that, it's something that's like, oh, this is a new thing in the kind of experience that I want to have from 3D Mario.
And that's just an additive thing on top of like the people being like, oh, this is a new game that I haven't played before. Because like while there is like the super hardcore gamer contingent that's like, I don't care if I never played it, old game, old. Came out in 2013, so old game, you know, like that sort of thing. But like most people are like, I never played this video game before, I'll buy it.
I definitely feel like in the end, I wonder how long it'll take, but 3D World is definitely going to have sold more than 3D All Stars when it's all said and done, is my feeling. But we'll see. Dominic Yeomans said, what are some of your ideas. I think it autocorrected to ideas for a new F-Zero / Captain Falcon game.
I made a video about this a long time ago. I did.
I feel like it's time for a new video on this.
Yeah, I need to update that. I gotta update it, or you can update it. Whichever one. Whoever's gonna do it, somebody gotta do it. We can both do it. But
should we answer it here or wait for
we'll
the
make
video?
A video?
Okay.
We'll make a video.
Sounds good. We'll do that. So
not right now, but we'll make a video in the future. Like I don't want to do that on Tuesday, but like I'll do something else. I mean, we'll do it at some point.
Moving on, Go Fish Goldfish says, I got 3D All-Stars. Replaying 64 hit me in the feels. I hadn't played it since it came out originally. Oh, wow. I picked up 3D World when I was having a stressful week at work. It was a good break between having to take care of things. The difficult is good at spot. The
difficulty, I think.
The difficulty is at a good spot for quick play sessions. Also, OG Fire Emblem is going to go away in a couple of weeks alongside all the Mario Celebration stuff. The game looks rough, so I don't plan on buying it.
Yo, that's another thing that I was like, maybe I'll buy that. And then I was like, nah. Because like it literally would have just been like emblematic thing of like, man, it's gaming history. But it would have just been like gaming history on my Switch that I'm never going to play.
Right.
You know, I'm just paying $7 or whatever for an icon.
Meanwhile, I'm doing it now for the reasons.
See, now I can have the icon for the free.
You can.
I literally don't even have to do that.
There it is. I was like, it's got to be somewhere on the featured, and it is. Oh, it's not even $7. It's only $6.
Man,
look at that.
It's a whole $1 cheaper.
That's a whole free that you get.
That's true.
So there it is. Continuing on. But yeah, I agree definitely with it. 3D World is like, it's a great, just like pop in, pop out kind of game, you know, like it worked great for that. Amp said, I got 3D All-Stars physical on day one. Bowser's Fury, I do intend to get for my kids at some point, but maybe not.
Yo,
I think
maybe
less, less so for the Bowser's Fury part of it. I mean, I'm sure
Even
Bowser's Fury
more
is
so,
fun
like
for
if you
everybody.
have, especially if you have multiple kids, I'd say 3D World's worth.
Yeah, for the 3D World part is what I was gonna say.
Yeah,
Like
yep,
for
yep,
the
yep.
kids, I'd say Bowser's Fury. I mean, obviously
If
they
you
can play it
had
and have a great
if
time.
you had a one kid,
Yeah,
Bowser's Fury would be good.
yeah. So, and we know you have a Amp. I think you have two kids because you mentioned in AJ's comments. Yeah, I buy two of them. Yep, waiting for a price drop to buy two of them. So you have two kids. Haha.
Yep.
We're detectives. What a time.
Mm-hmm.
We're not detectives. Cool said, I got 3D All Stars, but I plan on getting.
You don't know what I do.
Already downloaded Fire. I literally. It's done. It did it. That it took. I mean,
are you surprised by that?
I'm not.
The game came out in like 1988 or something like that.
But like, I literally looked at it and looked.
I don't know when the game came out. I wasn't paying attention. 1986,
1980. Oh yeah, right. 1985, because same as Mario. So last year, yeah, 1985. Sure. Weird. That's crazy. Wait, so that's older than Zelda? Isn't that a little odd? That's a bit odd to me.
Yeah.
That Fire Emblem's older than Zelda. Like, not gonna lie.
Yeah. It doesn't deserve to be older than Zelda.
Honestly, that feels almost more ahead of its time than Zelda in some regards.
How so?
Just like, I mean, there were computer games and
Fire Emblem's literally just chess.
No, but like I don't know, just like having a lot of interconnected things. Like, I'm looking at it.
I don't know what you mean by that. What do you mean?
I don't, just like, yeah, I guess I don't know what games were like outside of that anyway, because like there were computer games and stuff at that point. So like obviously if the computer games were as advanced as that, then it's not ahead of its time because whatever. But if like, it just feels like there's a lot of interconnected, like, I don't know, a story and then combat and then things, like something about that feels, I'm looking it up when it came out. It wasn't its 35th anniversary. So that explains all of it. It was 1990. So it was its 30th
I was
anniversary
closer
last
to
year.
what I said.
Yeah, 100% you were. Yeah, I was like, that doesn't make...
I said 1988.
You did say that. So, okay. Now everything is right with the world. That feels totally normal. And we're great. Moving on.
We did it.
Cool said, I got 3D All-Stars, but I plan on getting Super Mario 3D World sometime this year.
Better hurry up for Nintendo. Freaking! Oh no, never mind.
The other way around. He's good. Yeah, he's got all the time in the world.
Nintendo. Mario's still going to die on the 31st.
That's true. Yeah, you never know what's going to happen. The ripple effect. And then he says, "What's the worst game you've played?"
Superman 64.
I've never played Superman 64, so I can't. Man, I'm not. Let me look on my Switch and see if
Horizon Zero Dawn. No.
I can't. I've got to say it's got to be something I played on like the Game Boy or something back in the day. It's not this game, but I'll talk about this game because I remember it, and that's something I enjoyed it, but it was bad. I think it was called Ninja Boy. It was a Game Boy game, and like you were like in an overworld trying to get through some areas, and then you'd like run into an enemy, kind of like, I mean, think Zelda 2 sort of in that regard. And then when you run into an enemy in the overworld that just kind of like appeared out of nowhere, then there's a little like 2D jumping and fighting section, and I was so bad at it. Like, I realized in retrospect, I only ever barely got to like the second area, which is probably the 1.5 area, like not far at all. Like probably the equivalent of I got to the first temple in Zelda 2, except for it was in this game. So yeah, Ninja Boy, that's the one on the Game Boy. Worst game I've ever played, I guess.
Right. Need to see it.
Also, AJ says that Parker loves Hollow Knight. True. And I recently bought it, but haven't had the chance to play it yet. Any pointers for when I start? Some beginner's tips or something? Have a nice weekend.
Yes. You gotta freaking, you gotta jump.
All the way. Yeah, definitely gotta jump.
You gotta press forward on the analog stick or D-pad
sometimes,
if that's what you prefer.
Sometimes.
You gotta jump. Sometimes you
Never.
gotta press
Nope.
backward.
Ugh. I mean, if
The
you have to, you know.
because it's a Metroidvania, so like sometimes you gotta go the other way.
Sometimes I explained to Ashley what a Metroidvania was the other day, and that was a fun time. Okay, yeah, real tips though is
Wow, that's crazy. This man just immediately undermined my tips.
sorry. Less advanced tips. Those ones are
Okay.
just like too, you know, wow,
Gotcha.
whew, so much. I've heard a lot of people, if pretty much like there's a 2 or 3 hours that like it can that can trip some people up, where if they get past that point they really like it, and if they don't, then apparently they don't as much. And usually that has to do with the map and getting lost, because so throughout the game, every area that you get to, you'll find like a cartographer guy. You kind of like listen for some humming, and he'll be like and see some little pages, follow those, and you'll find the cartographer, and he gives you a map to the area. But it's sometimes you could wind up in an area that you don't have a map for yet, and just not necessarily know where to go. So I would just say, like, try to find maps as early as you can so that you just don't feel lost. And like for me, if there was any point where I was like, I just don't really know where to go, I would just pull up the map if I have the map for it yet, which usually I try to get them as early as I can. So typically you should be good. And like, you know, you'd find an area where all of these rooms that I went to are closed off all the way. So I've been to all their exits, but this one has a little opening. So there's a door there. I haven't gone whatever that way is. I'm going to go that way. And then without fail, eventually you'll find, you know, one of those is the path to the next place. So that's my only tip, because I think that was a tip somebody else gave to a podcast I was listening to, and that helped for sure. And like, once you're past the first section or two, man, what a great old game. It opens up a lot, because like, whereas a lot of Metroidvanias, I think, tend to have like progressive power-ups, or it's this one and then this one and then this one and then this one. It's like that for the first like 3 probably in this one, but then after that you can use the power-ups that you've gotten so far to unlock one of 3 new areas, and then from that, whatever power-up you get there, you could unlock 2 different new areas. So like, you can kind of blaze your own trail and do things in whatever order, like AJ and I talk about with like games that are like, you didn't go talk to the guy to go talk to me first.
Yep.
You can talk to me, but you got to talk to him first.
Can't do it.
That whole
and
thing.
They don't even tell you that.
Yeah.
They don't tell you that.
That's true.
It's like, so, you didn't talk to Marley, so you can't move forward.
I did have that happen in Bravely Default 2 twice already, where I got to an area where it's like, oh yeah, story thing is going to lead me to this area, but I just got to this area and I can't not do anything yet, but definitely I am not progressing in here.
It literally happened when I was playing freaking Pokemon, the DLC, Crown Tundra. It happened, and Ian was like, "Oh, you obviously gotta go do this." I'm like, "Dude, I don't like RPGs." So like, you tell him like, obviously do the RPG thing. It's not like lighting a light bulb off in my head. That's lighting a fire in my head. Where I was like, "Oh, I hate this now."
Oh, yeah. That's yeah, for sure. I got to another section where it was like a dungeon-y area or something, did the whole area, and I was like, oh, there's a save point right up towards this area. That means, because there was one in this other place, there's a boss up there. And I knew this wasn't the next place I had to go to. I just thought I was doing a side thing that was separate. And I went there, did the save point, looked around, and there was nothing. And I was like, not a boss fight. And I looked it up and I was like, is there no boss fight in this section? And they're like, oh, you fight this guy. And I'm like, okay, obviously, I mean, I don't know who that guy is yet, but I'm going to go somewhere else, do that thing. And then there will eventually be a boss fight over there. So, but I'm fine with that kind of stuff, because it just meant that I got to like fight some a little bit harder enemies and grind a bit more and level up and blah, blah, blah. And that's just fun for me. So there you go. Cool continues on. Who's your favorite live action Spidey, and why is it Tobey Maguire from the Holy Trinity?
No.
I'm gonna say Tom Holland, I think.
Yeah. Easily.
He does a great job. I enjoyed Andrew Garfield, to be honest.
Before this new like era of Spider-Man movies, I always felt like the other two Spider-Mans freaking they were like they excelled at being one side or the other.
Yes,
Neither one
right.
of them were good at being both.
Either nerdy
Like,
or too cool and snarky
exactly.
or whatever.
Like
yeah.
I think like Tobey Maguire was like a better Peter Parker and Andrew Garfield was like a better Spider-Man.
Totally
like
agree.
Spider-Man, like very much so has like this whole thing, especially like when he's like Spider-Man, you know, not like I'm a 15-year-old kid, I became Spider-Man 3 months ago or whatever, right?
Yeah.
But like he's comfortable, you know, like Spider-Man is like, yo, I'm freaking Spider-Man. I'm making fun of you. I'm like, you suck, you know, I'm quippy, you know, all that stuff, right? But when he's Peter Parker, he's like, man, I'm just a freaking nerd, dude. Like neither one of them nailed both dynamics of that. Like I feel like Andrew Garfield's Peter Parker was too cool.
Yeah,
and
100%.
And Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man wasn't cool enough. And I think Tom Holland nails a better balance of that. And it's like while his Spider-Man isn't to that point where it's like, like I'm making fun of you because I'm Spider-Man and you're not. It makes sense because he is in that place where he's like, I'm still new to this and I don't really get it. But you can still tell that like as Spider-Man, he's still more confident than he is as Peter Parker. And that dynamic makes more sense.
Yeah.
But also freaking
Miles Morales.
The casting is just better and all that stuff because it's like freaking Tobey Maguire was about to be 30. Like this man is like double the age that he is supposed to be, you know? And Tom Holland's older than he's supposed to be, but it's believable, like the gap in age. And it's like he looks younger than he is. So like just on that, and same thing for Andrew Garfield. Like neither one of them looked like they were the age that they were supposed to be.
Andrew Garfield was closer, but not by too much. I was gonna say, I mean, also obviously Miles Morales and Into the Spider-Verse, like fully different Spider-Man, but man, phenomenal, super good. And then last question from Cool and from YouTube community in general said, I just found out Sony bought Evo. What'd you think about that? PlayStation All-Stars 2?
We talked about most of this, and
we did.
I hate it. PlayStation All-Stars 2. Also, you know what's funny? The Buzz, the guy that I got the coaching from or whatever, apparently he was like the best PlayStation All-Stars player in the world. Like
really?
Interesting. That was a random tidbit that I didn't know. But also like I don't like that game. And it's not even a PlayStation thing. It's like gameplay wise, I think the game's bad. But that's a different conversation altogether.
I mean, I feel like, I don't know, fighting games like Smash it feels like the only fighting game to not do the traditional fighting game mechanics and do it
and still do
well,
like be a good one.
Yes, right. Yeah,
it's
pretty
like
much the rest of them I played.
It's so good that it forged its own like pocket in the fighting game genre that has PlayStation All-Stars being a copycat of it, you know? Like the amount of times where a game is like, I mean, I like this genre kinda, but I'm not really going to do your thing. The amount of times that they do that and then that spawns a whole nother sector to the genre is super rare.
Yeah.
When it's done, it's because the other thing is very good.
It's true.
And the copies are rarely nearly.
You like Smash?
I don't know any like Smash Brothers copy that I'm like, this game is also very good.
Rivals of Ether, isn't that one supposed to be pretty good?
Yeah, I heard people like that. People like Brawlhalla. I don't.
I don't like Brawlhalla. I did try that and I was not a fan. And there was another one that came out like kind of in the waiting for Smash. I don't remember what it was, but it was like like an indie Smash clone kind of thing.
Yeah,
and it was all right, but like I was just like, I'm just gonna wait a couple months for Smash.
Yeah, there was a lot of communities that are trying to send us those where it was like, oh, you guys like Smash, you guys talk about Smash isn't out yet. Do you want to play this? And I'm like, I'm gonna be real with you. I looked at this game and I already know that like gameplay wise, it's not gonna do it for me. And I feel like maybe Melee fans will like a lot of those clones because that's what they're trying to clone. And like I'm not one of those. Like I don't really like Melee. Like Melee's fine and I appreciate it for like what it did because it like changed Smash from Smash 64.
Yeah.
So
I still prefer Brawl over Melee personally. And I'm like, same. I don't know. I just do.
I think and in retrospect, I think Smash progressively gets better as time
Yeah,
moves on,
yeah.
but I do I probably like Brawl more than I like Smash 4 in retrospect, honestly. But it's mostly because like Melee feels like garbage to like for movement unless you're like
Yeah, right,
perfect at it, and then it
right.
like then I assume that it feels good. It's like I understand wave dashing, and I don't have to
Yeah.
think about the fact that I'm wave dashing, and like
hmm
in that game specific, it just feels bad. So it's like I don't. If you're not very good at Melee feels like garbage, and I don't think that's not really a. It's
hmm
like a
Yeah.
like you cannot be very good at Ultimate and it still feel good.
Yep. No, that's true. Yeah, I definitely agree. All right, questions from Discord. Technoduck said, "What is your top 5 favorite Switch games?"
I think we talked about this. I
It's
think we
not
talked
going to
about
be in
this.
any order, but here's super roughly. Breath of the Wild, Mario
That's one of
Odyssey,
mine. That's also one of mine.
Divinity Original Sin 2,
Not one of mine.
Fire Emblem Three Houses, and then the fifth one is a wild card. You say some of yours, and I'll say that.
Okay, so my other 3 are Splatoon 2, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, and Pokemon Sword. But I also Mario Odyssey and Breath of the Wild. If I had to order them, it would be Smash Bros. Ultimate, freaking Pokemon Sword. Mario Odyssey and Breath of the Wild are interchangeable depending on the day, and then Splatoon 2.
Yeah, that makes sense. I don't know, honestly. There's a lot that are like tied for 5th place, I feel like, for me. So like, for example, I'm not going to pick a 5th one. I'm just saying a lot of these. Mario Kart 8, Animal Crossing. What was I just looking at? Xenoblade Chronicles 2, honestly, and some other ones. Oh, Hollow Knight. It's Hollow Knight. Sorry. Hollow Knight's number 5.
Mario Kart 8 for me is in such a weird place where it's like I do not think of it as a Switch game at all. Like it's like to the point where it's like I actively do not like playing that video game on Switch. I don't like playing it at all anymore, period. Because I'm just done. Like I played like 400 hours of that game on Wii U and I'm done. I had enough. I've had my fill. So it's like for me, and for other people, like if people ask me games that I would recommend them, Mario Kart 8 would be like one of the first ones I would recommend, but it would not be one that I would buy for myself to play currently. Like I have it, obviously.
Yeah.
But like if I was buying new Switch games tomorrow,
I think the thing for me that keeps it off the list for sure is just the single player incentives, and that's it. Like, because I really, really enjoy playing the game. I mean, obviously, like you said, you played 400 hours of it on Wii U or whatever. And like, but yeah, I definitely think of it as something like I played as much single player as I could have progression out of it for a while. And then it's like, man, I love these mechanics, but I just don't have anything useful to do with them. Like it's fun to play, but like, I don't have a purpose for them. So that's, yeah, it's hard. But if there were more single player stuff in there, then it would be higher on the list for sure, for me specifically. Duncan asks, with the weather finally turning nice, what do y'all like to do for fun outside of the house?
Yo,
there's an outside of the house.
The weather don't got nothing to do with it. The world is still shut down as far as I'm concerned. Also, the weather is like not consistently like it's like right now it's like freaking
very
one day
gloomy.
it's 70 degrees or something, and then the next day it's like, oh, it's 40 degrees now.
That was exactly us. Yeah, I was like 70 and then 44 the next day. I was like, man, yeah.
So it was like, we're not there yet.
I'm gonna have to mow tomorrow for the first time though, and I'm not thrilled about that.
Yeah, hopefully it's a 70 day, not a 40 day.
Hopefully so. Or hopefully it's like a dry 60, because otherwise the grass it's kind of long at this point already, and it's gonna be wet. And I hate that so much. As far as for fun outside of the house, man, not a lot. I don't get out of the house all that much. As far as like in the outdoors time, like literally being outdoors. But I mean, now that we have a kid that'll be here in a couple of months, then like probably we will get out of the house a little bit more.
It's true. I mean, you should be a thing you definitely do.
Yep. It means that,
but also sort of not.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean?
What a weird dilemma. All right, Alec asks, what is your go-to fun fact? That one piece of useless trivia and seem to share with people a lot. Here's mine. my banana or a banana is a berry. A banana is a berry. This is Alex is a banana is a berry, but strawberries and raspberries are not. I think it's because the seeds are on the outside instead of the inside.
It's true. It's very stupid, and I hate it.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff like that where like technically like peppers are berries and like other things like that or whatever.
I guess like quantifiably, it would be the Pokemon thing about Pokemon being like the biggest media franchise.
Yeah, that's
but
true.
Like it doesn't even feel like that because it's just like it's not even it's like it's double duty. It's like it's a job to tell you this now, and also it's a random but because like most people, even people watching these videos and like Bob even were like, what? Like that can't be true. And then you're like, oh no, yeah, it is by far. Like it's not even close.
Yeah, that's a good one for me. Like what's weird is like I can't think of a lot off the top of my head, but definitely the phrase "fun fact" comes out of my mouth all the time. So like I think it's kind of like Simpsons quotes where it's like
Super
I don't
Mario Brothers 2 is Doki Doki Panic.
The one that I did think of though that like it's definitely not the one I say the most, but like happens enough, or at least did for a while, is that French fries. I feel like most people would either think the French fries are called French fries because completely arbitrary, like I don't know why we say French, but we say French for some reason, or that like I guess they're from France, and
isn't it like a Belgium thing? And
it's
like,
a Belgium thing.
French,
100% that it was the people it was American soldiers in World War I were in Belgium eating frites. And they were like, man, these things are good. And everybody's like, yeah, we're in Belgium. And they're like, what, France? People speak French. And then, that's how it happened. So, and likewise, flip that though. This one's less known, I guess, outside. In France, they have steak américain, which is, it's literally like, I mean, it's a hamburger patty, but raw. And you eat it raw.
Gross.
Like it's not even like rare, it's just raw. And the reason it's called American steak. And the reason for it is because in World War II, I think, when they dropped like care packages or whatever in France to like help out, they had hamburger patties as part of it, like in the idea of like cook them and eat them as hamburger patties. And they were like, well, I guess this is how Americans eat meat. Weird. And then just like ate it like that. And so now you go to a restaurant and
how do they not die? What?
I don't know, man. It's that's who's to say? Maybe that's where all the mad cow disease came from back in the day.
Oh no.
What a time. I mean, no, I can't donate blood because I lived in France during the time that mad cow disease was like really rampant there, and definitely ate a couple of hamburgers during that time as well.
That's crazy.
I'm just straight up.
That's a fun fact. That's your fun fact. Like, did you know I can't donate blood?
Because of crazy cows. Oh man.
Yo, the cows were so angry, dude. They were so angry, and now I'm not allowed to donate blood.
JFRA170FJ time said, my name is John Francis, if you don't remember. Of course we remember John.
I don't think there will ever be. Yo, I wonder if there's ever going to be a time where we're like, oh, you're John Francis. Like, we always know that. Every time. I don't think, even the first time he's like, this is John Francis, by the way. I think we knew by then. I'm like,
but thank you for the reminder. And thank you for writing in. Okay, he says, I give you 6 dogs. You only keep 3. How many dogs do you have? None. You get to keep no dogs. All the dogs are mine. Fun jokes.
Wow, that's messed up.
It's really mean. I really thought I was going to get some dogs. But not today. Not today.
You don't get to cry. You have 2 dogs already.
I do have 2
have
dogs.
A single dog, dude.
I had them in here during one of my meetings today, and it was very fun. Continuing on. John says, anyway, where's Zelda? Also, Switch Pro is a thing at some point.
Boy Zelda or Girl Zelda? Which one?
I don't know. So he says, so what do you think will actually happen? And what actual updates are likely? And what updates do you think they won't do? And when will it come out? So I guess Zelda's 35th probably, or
I think at the end of the year, they're going to be like, here's Breath of the Wild 2 or whatever, right? This is the game. It's coming out. either end of the year or early next year, depending on their development timeline.
Mhm.
And then they're going to be like, oh yeah, remember we said it's coming out end of the year, early next year. We're delaying it 7 months. I'm sorry about it, but Zelda games always get delayed all the time. I don't think there's ever been a time where a major Zelda game did not. I mean, hopefully, yeah. I mean, you'd hope that.
So yeah, and what I'm thinking with that is
I can't even think of a single Zelda game, maybe like a Game Boy Advance one, you know, like something like that. But like any major Zelda game that did not get delayed.
Yeah.
Can't think of one. Like I think even Wind Waker HD got delayed. Like,
yeah, I really do hope that like they intentionally didn't put a date in the 2019 trailer, but they would have put 2020 or, you know, early 2021 or something like that. And then it got delayed from there. But the nice thing is they've had announcements to be able to give consistently to where like they would be able to know that like, do we need to give a Zelda, you know, Breath of the Wild 2 announcement right now? Like, no, we don't really need that. So we just won't. And that'll be fine. So as long as
I hope that's the logic. I hope it is, because there's been plenty of times where they look at Sony. Like there's so many times where companies do not have to say literally anything, but they still are like, hey, the game's coming out. The game's coming out in 3 weeks, and they know they just started on it yesterday.
Yeah,
like,
right.
It always it's that freaking Uno meme where it's like data game or draw 25 cards or whatever. And they're like, I refuse to draw 25 cards. Game's coming out in a month.
Yeah. So yeah, well, I'm hoping holiday this year feels good. But yeah, otherwise early next year, I guess. Man,
I want it to be early next year. I want it to be early next year, dude.
Yeah,
I want it to be early next
hoping
year just so that it can be like, it's Breath of the Wild's 5th birthday. Here's Breath of the Wild 2. That would just be so freaking neat and tidy, dude.
It would be neat and tidy. I mean, the thing is, like, I'm glad that it's taking this long. If it means that they're doing like just significant changes, you know, like that's awesome. If they're like really working on it and stuff, like, because maybe it's just, you know, the whole thing of if they introduce 2 elements, then now there's QA for 1 trillion combinations of things. That's definitely a factor. Like as somebody who does things with software and like will run into bugs where it's like, well, you obviously didn't test how that interacts with all this sector of things and they're all messed up. So like, that's lame. But
yeah, when I changed my font to Arial and it's specifically 14 point, it breaks everything. you didn't check that.
Yeah. So yeah, I think we'll see. But ideally, yeah, if they're making a bunch of cool, fun changes, like I'm good to wait longer. You know, like there's games coming out. I have not had something to play in the longest time. Like I can't think of a time that I'm like, man, there's just literally nothing I could play, or at least
only
like
5,000 games on the platform.
Yeah. So there you go. Now a bunch of questions from Grimhane, who says Among Us map release date is March 31st. Mario 35 dies March 31st. Is the airship the thing that kills Mario in some blitz attack organized by Bowser and the imposters? Is Bowser actually an imposter? Is Bowser the result of the parasite imposter left unchecked for decades and decades in a Koopa Troopa?
Yo, vote him out. Jermaine sauce. He's too aggressive. Like, he's too aggressive on Bowser. Vote him off.
You see, like decaying Bowser, like he's obviously super evil, and Grimhane's like, maybe it's him. Grimhane, super sus. Bowser's like,
knows the strats. He plays Among Us all the time. Vote him off. Clearly, it's him.
Clearly. Continues. Should Duncan be canceled for not loving Life is Strange series? And why is the only answer to this question yes? Man, I haven't I
don't know what to tell you.
Life is Strange.
Life is Strange was like one of those games where like it was a game that annoyed me in the early next generation because it was like, man, this new console generation is so realistic, and by that metric, Life is Strange, especially the original game, looks like garbage. But a lot of people were like, oh, but it's the style. It's like they chose to make the freaking clock texture look like a PS2 game, like that sort of stuff. But like the game itself is fine.
I mean, the thing is, like, at this point too, they could also just do straight up Life is Strange is kind of Bandersnatch in some regards. Like, it's not. It's more. It's broader than that because there's more different ways you can go. Whereas Bandersnatch had like 6, and some of them like the next scene was a little bit different, but that kind of thing. Like, yeah, you could just do it with real people at this point. Like, there's mechanisms for that. But still, like, especially I guess if you're in like story things and whatever, which I'm just not. Like, I wish I was more, but I'm not. So whatever. So should Duncan be canceled? No, Grimhane's still the imposter. Sorry about it.
It's true.
Oof,
true.
Rough.
Obviously, very clearly he's the imposter, dude. Very obviously.
And last one. Speaking of Life is Strange, why haven't Square Enix released it on Switch? None of the games are graphically intensive, nor even performance intensive. That's true.
Because Square Enix is dumb. Next question.
Square Enix is weird. We're like, they've put so many Final Fantasies on Switch. They've put a ton of RPGs and stuff. But then there is like, they haven't done any of the Tomb Raiders, like Life is Strange. Like, there's other sectors of theirs that they just haven't even touched
man,
on
Life
Switch.
is Strange can't run, dude. It's impossible. It's
That's
impossible for Life is Strange to run on Switch, dude. It's way too powerful for this platform.
It's next gen. It's never going to stop being next gen. Current, just a current gen can't handle a next gen game.
They can't.
Obviously.
It's impossible.
And John Fraser said, why hasn't Grimhane been on the podcast yet?
I don't know. If they announce a Nintendo expansion for Among Us, Grimhane, you want to be on the podcast?
And there it is. And
that's the only thing that will make it like a topic. Like, because even when Airship drops or whatever, going like Airship's a thing. Okay, next, But like, if they're like Nintendo, like Among Us with Nintendo characters, then we got to talk about it. And at that point, then Grimhane could be on the podcast if he wants to be on the podcast. But he's basically on the podcast anyway. Look at how many questions he asks.
Many questions. That's it for the questions and that part of the podcast, but we do have one last little bit.
Oh yeah, it's true. The freaking
spoiler cast for
WandaVision spoiler cast.
See ya, suckers, everybody who hasn't seen it. Have a good day. Thank you for
go watch WandaVision right now.
And then listen to the words we're about to say.
$7 or something.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, man.
Dude. First of all, Doctor Strange. What the F, Doctor Strange?
What do you mean?
F? Like, how come he didn't do nothing?
Apparently,
I said that. I said this to Will, and Will freaking left me on red, man. I don't know if you left me on red. It's on Twitter. But I was like, yo, how come Doctor Strange didn't do nothing about her? Because, like, if freaking Agatha knew that she's, like, this evil being, how come Doctor Strange wasn't like, yo, Wanda, chill the F out? Like, because he saw it. Like,
so, I mean, on a production level, apparently they were going to try to get him in there somewhere, but probably just in like a post-credit thing. So that still doesn't answer your question.
I know.
But he couldn't get to Australia or wherever it was because of travel restrictions. But yeah, that's the thing. I've been watching a bunch of MCU type videos and stuff, like you have too, I know. And some of them pointing out like why this one character is too powerful for the MCU. And it's not because they couldn't sort of scale other things to make them interesting. It's because once that character is in the MCU, things become boring. You can't because it's like, oh, we'll just tell that guy to go take care of it. Like, honestly, like the Captain Marvel thing, like even after Captain Marvel was in there, people were like, why can't Captain Marvel have? Oh, she's on another planet far away.
It's like, okay, stuff to deal with.
Yeah. And if you have anybody,
but that's the thing. Like they're
like, Doctor Strange is right there.
It's power scale, and it's not even for me. It's not even a thing of like, why didn't Doctor Strange stop her, like physically, like fight her or whatever, right?
Check in on her.
Why didn't he be like, yo, you're the Scarlet Witch, and like calm down, dude, like chill out, like don't kill people, like stuff's gonna happen and it's gonna make you sad.
Yeah.
But like calm down, dude. Like
I wonder if maybe they do answer that in the Multiverse of Madness. Like
I hope so, but something. Like I don't know, because like in like Endgame or whatever, like they haven't, as far as like on camera or whatever, they haven't interacted. Like, so like that much makes sense. But I would figure even in that scenario, he would make it a priority to be like, all right, pull her aside while we're fighting Thanos and be like, yo, you're the Scarlet Witch. Calm down, dude. Like, chill out. Like, calm down.
Yeah, it is. There's a whole overall. It's interesting too because like the blip happened 5 years, all that stuff, and like for so long we were in the same time as the movies. Like they were happening. Like it was 2011 for us, it's 2011 for them, et cetera, et cetera. And then Infinity War happens within that. No, Endgame happens within that movie. It goes from whatever the years it came out, 2019 or something, or 2018, to 5 years later.
Like
So 2023.
Yeah.
And so I wonder if they're doing things that like will slow, you like zoom in on this time after to keep spreading it out so that by 2023 IRL, it'll be 2023 still, in the movies or something like that. And so similarly, yeah, hopefully in the Multiverse of Madness, we'll get to see something that he was doing that wouldn't have allowed him, because he's going to interact with her in this. I mean, in that one, obviously, like they've talked about that a lot. So like,
yeah.
The other thing too is like, with that movie it is interesting. Man, I get so mad, or not mad, but like I've seen people talk about how like, I don't know, like saying like Wanda needs to like go to jail. How come they didn't like teach more of a lesson, blah, blah. And I'm like, hey, totally. Like if this were real life, that it would be a different story than us
also,
watching a fictional.
Who's going to do that?
Yeah.
Who's putting her in
and then
jail?
also like, it's not like at the end of the thing, they didn't redeem her. Like it does feel intentionally uncomfortable where like, we also feel for all the people. She didn't apologize to them. It did, because writers know that. Like they know that they should have made her, if they want us to feel great about her completely, like then she needs to apologize and like things be better. But and she's being set up to be at least kind of a bad guy,
Because when I was on Wolf Den Live or Wolf Den podcast, I was telling Wells like, I'm going to harass you because you told me to. Like, because you're not on youtube.com/Wolf Den telling me about this show in video form. And he's like, we're friends. You could talk. I'm like, all right, that's what I'm going to do. And when I was talking to Will, I was like, is she bad? Like that was the first question. I'm like, is she evil or not? Because like it seems kind of evil, because like that's like the vibe that I got. It wasn't like this, that like it wasn't like like she forgot or didn't think the thing. She's like, I dare you. Please step to me and say anything. Like I freed y'all. That's more than enough. Like I did my good deed. And then she freaking yeets, and then she reads the freaking demon book. Like
I definitely think she's at a point now where it's like she's almost not like Magneto, but like she's just like apathetic essentially to morals, like, where she's amoral. There you go.
She is like living for her and nobody else.
Yes,
it's not
exactly.
And the thing is, like, she never really was a hero in the MCU in the sense that it's like, I am a good guy. It's like I'm just going through the motions. And freaking, she started out as a villain, basically.
Right, exactly.
And then her brother died, and then she's like, oh shoot, I'm even. They're like now that my brother died and how he died, and like he died to save this dude, and he's part of this whole thing. This is my alliance now.
She's like, I mean, she's true neutral or something.
Where so she's like an Avenger because her brother died to save an Avenger, and then even more so that got deepened when her whole relationship with Vision and blah blah. Now Vision's gone, and like for her, in part, that's because of the good guy. So she's like,
it'll be really interesting to see, man, the Multiverse of Madness and stuff, and like, because that one I think is coming out right after the Spider-Man movie that we know is going to have a bunch of multiverse-y things in it. So like that'll be interesting to be like, probably they won't know, like some weird multiverse stuff is going to happen in the Spider-Man movie. We'll know, oh, it's Wanda doing some things, but they probably won't know that. Like that'll be an off-screen kind of like,
like what the heck is going on?
Like to them it's just nothing, because they're not trying to do anything to stop her, and then like that'll come to a culmination in Doctor Strange. But like
and like all this stuff is like, I think I'm not going to like go into exactly what is making me care, because you haven't watched it yet. But like Falcon and freaking what even is it called?
Winter Soldier?
Falcon and Winter Soldier. I didn't care about that at all. Like not
prior
even
to
a
watching
little
it,
bit.
or like while you,
Yeah, like
now
prior to watching it,
okay,
because it's like I don't like. There's nothing like
that's how I feel a
tethering
little
me.
bit.
There's nothing tethering me to this other than the fact that it's an MCU thing, and I'll be confused in some
100%.
way with the future things, right? I don't really care about Captain America. Captain America is very similar to like Superman for me. And also the fact that I'm not super hot on America right now, generally. I'm like, I don't know if I want to be rah Captain America. But he's kind of like, well, I'm not.
He's the spirit of Superman with the like kind of body of, or the like powers sort of Batman, in that like it feels very down to earth, and like it's not like, oh, look at those cool powers. We watched a little bit of the Winter Soldier the other day, and in Endgame, Captain America is fighting against Thanos, who's this super powerful whatever. In the Winter Soldier, he's fighting against a guy just on a boat, and he's having a hard time. Like,
but he's like, I mean, that makes sense because he has like he has the same, well, not the same exact thing, but he has like the super serum, you know, like that's what made, like that. But
that's what I'm saying. Like, it's like,
why
is he having a hard time against regular people?
It's just like Superman. He's holding himself back. He doesn't want to kill.
That's what Ashley said, and like, I'm sure she's right.
I think that's what it is, but I don't care about that.
Exactly.
You know, like that's where I'm at, where it's like I don't really care about, and like I didn't specifically care about like this. I wasn't like the biggest Scarlet Witch fan. Like the only like superheroes within Marvel that I'm like, yo, before the MCU, this person's dope, or like Spider-Man. That's literally the only one. And then because of the MCU, I found out more about Black Panther, and now I'm more on the like where I was at with Spider-Man. I was like, I love Black Panther. He's sick, you know. Like the MCU was like, I'm reading Black Panther comics now, like that sort of thing. But Captain America is like still in the place where it's like, I don't care about this person.
Meanwhile, like Mitch, for example, Captain America's his top, and I'm like, man, what a just milk toast. Yeah. Just kidding. I love Mitch so much, but like, it's just so funny because he feels so just like squeaky clean, and like less so in some of the later stuff in the MCU, like within Civil War and stuff like that was, you know, I don't know, but still like,
yeah, I mean, and it's just like, I just don't identify with him. So it's like, I don't care. Like, and I think that's, I mean, especially it's super like obvious with Black Panther, but like Spider-Man, like when I was like, oh man, I love Spider-Man, I was a kid, dude. So it was like, oh yeah, he's a kid and he has powers and he's like freaking, you know, like, so it's like being able to like identify with that and grow up with Spider-Man is like why I care about Spider-Man. There's nothing tethering me to Captain America, like I said. So it's like, but I watched it and it's like, okay, all right, I see how you're going to get me into this. And the other thing is like the thing that got me with freaking WandaVision is like the what is happening here?
Yeah.
Like that is the thing, and there's not really, it doesn't seem like that's going to be a thing.
Interesting.
Like, what is going on?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That'll be. I definitely like, it gives a different vibe for sure. It feels very down to earth, which again like feels less something,
and it feels like MCU, which is fine.
Yeah.
But like WandaVision, a big reason why I was like super invested in that is because it was like decisively not until like the very end.
Yeah, right.
It was like, okay, this is the MCU now, which is fine. I like the MCU, but like it wasn't it doesn't feel like freaking Captain America, Falcon, and Winter Soldier is going. The thing that throws me off is like the shield. That's like, is Captain America in this title? But yeah, no, it's like it's the fact that it's just straight up MCU, and there's no like what's gonna happen next. You know, like that sort of factor that it makes me feel like I might not care about this as much.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. Yeah, we'll probably watch that in just like a couple hours when we eat dinner or something. I'm curious. Well, cool. I think, speaking of which, I think it's about time. We did it.
I did it. Thanks for listening to our MCU podcast. Goodbye. Like, comment, subscribe, do all the things. Share podcast with your friends. Podcast services, anchor.fm/
Oh, and answer the question in the comments. That is, well, I don't know. What question do they have to answer? Hats or beanies?
Beanies, all right.
I know, but I mean, like this kind of hat. You know, like
okay, got you.
Baseball cap kind of hat or a beanie.
Okay. Goodbye.